Let's get corrupted. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Joe with Meteoric Serpents coming back at you for another episode of the Colubrid Corruption Podcast. Guys, really excited to be back. We have a great episode in store. I'm a little laggy on my end. I hope I am not on your guys' end. If that intro looked good, if everything's working smoothly for you, just throw it in the chat and say so. But either way, guys, this is episode number 70, the Gonyosoma Roundtable with some very cool guests, former guests of the show. They're not going to need much introduction. They've all been on here before. If you haven't watched their individual episodes, you absolutely should. Justin's done 2, and Chaz and Jared have done 1 apiece. So definitely go listen to their original episodes on here if you want to get to know about them a little bit personally. But tonight is all about the Gonyosoma genus. So I hope you guys are all excited. There's a lot of learning to be done. Underexplored genus, which I think is becoming more popular in the hobby. We got some great people breeding oxycephalum. The jansenii are still like creeping their way up there, but I think this group of guys and some others as well are doing some good stuff with all of them. So yeah, this is going to be one for the books for sure. I've been looking forward to doing like a roundtable type episode, whether it's about a genus or a species, but glad this is the first one. And actually Chaz brought this to my attention that he wanted to do it. So I'm just glad he did. But yeah, guys, if it's your first time listening to Colubrid Corruption, make sure you hit that like button on today's podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe, chasing that 1,200 subscriber mark. So everyone counts, and I appreciate you all who do it. And if you're listening on YouTube, you could also listen to this on all the major audio podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, Google Play, I believe as well. So yeah, definitely go check it out wherever. Give it a 5-star review, follow the show, share it with your friends, whatever it may be. And speaking of following and sharing, all my social media links are down below. It's at Meteoric Serpents everywhere, especially if you're watching. That's pretty much where it all is. If there's a social media platform, I'm very likely on it. So go try to find me over there. And yeah, and all the links to our guests' Instagram are down below, including the YouTube link for THN, which you should definitely go check out as well, the Herpetoculture Network. But yeah, and then first link in the description goes to the Meteoric Serpents Patreon. It's a cool way of supporting the show, a bunch of other fellow Colubrid enthusiasts, Discord group chat, gets kind of behind the scenes access of what goes on here at Meteoric Serpents, early access to, pre-recorded episodes of the show, all that good stuff, early access to my production, which is also cool as well. So feel free to check it out. And if you don't want to do that and you're just listening to the episode here on YouTube, feel free to throw a super chat, especially this one. This one's going to be a very good and info-packed episode, so hope you're all looking forward to it. Also, make sure you guys are supporting USARK Florida, the organizations that fight for our rights to keep our reptiles, on the state, federal, and local legislation, so they're always fighting. And let's see what else we're missing. Yeah, I guess, our typical hashtag Colubrid Corruption of the week. I got that here. Let's share that. This one's a cool one. Another former guest of the show. Got John from Palm Beach Colubrids. Just a really nice axanthic king rat snake. Really cool looking. Enough said. Make sure you go follow Palm Beach Colubrids. I featured them multiple times on this. So yeah. And John's been on the show before, has a lot of cool species, so make sure you go check them out. And if you want to be featured on this, put hashtag Colubrid Corruption on your Colubrid post. I choose one every week, and you get a little shout out from me. And then also, I'm too big. let's see. Before always, we got Colubrid Fest 2025 coming up quick on us, guys. We're right about, what is it, 2.5 months out, which is awesome. September 12th to 14th. I'm super excited. Once again, I will be there with the table with my buddy Kevin from Offspring Reptiles, bringing you guys some cool stuff. Not sure how much I'll have for sale, but either way, I'll bring some cool stuff. Might be doing a live podcast episode there. I might, try to do that. I think that would be pretty cool to do. So yeah. Once again, Colubrid Fest, go check it out on Facebook, on the Show Me Reptiles website, and book your tickets to go. But yeah. And then quickly, just some personal collection updates before we get into tonight's episode. Both of the Coxeye hatchlings just had their first shed, which means probably tomorrow I will offer them their first meals. I'm going to try very, very warm, frozen thawed pinkies, like red hots. They're much, much smaller than I don't know what I was expecting, but they're so tiny. So red hot pinks to start. Hopefully that works. If they don't take frozen thawed on the first meal, just because they're so small, probably going to try live pinks. We'll see how that works out. And then in other news, my cadmium Texas rat snake did lay a clutch for me, but to be honest, the fertility of that clutch is quite questionable. Don't really know if they're good. I got a mixed bag of reviews after posting it on social media. I'm not really sure what to expect. Honestly, I'm not hoping for anything. I have, I'm going glass half empty on this. By the looks of it, the whole clutch should go bad, but if one makes it the distance, that would be pretty cool. So let's hope for that. But yeah, cadmium to cadmium, I'd be really happy to produce those guys. And if they don't, we'll try next year. Obviously, with the whole move and everything, things have been wonky. So yeah, just trying to get these animals on track for next year breeding. I have a couple ball python clutches I'm expecting, honestly, within the next couple weeks, which gives a little spice of life to the season. I know it's not colubrid related, but yeah. All right. So with all that said, we'll kind of go one by one on bringing out our roundtable for tonight. I'm going to start by introducing the man who brought this idea to my attention. We got Chaz from More Than Morelia, who currently holds the record for the longest podcast on the channel. And no, I'm glad he pitched this idea to me because I had been wanting to try to do roundtable episodes. I know sometimes scheduling is just hard for multiple people, but I'm glad he was able to put this together. He's kind of writing as the co-host on this thing because, he's the one who wanted this big learning, this episode to be a big learning platform about Gonyosoma. So I'm sort of giving him the reins and just moderating a little bit. But yeah, what's up, Chaz? How are you?
What's up, man? Stoked to be here.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. And just for anyone who's wondering, I mean, Chaz has a bunch of oxycephalum over there and jansenii. Your jansenii eggs are getting up there in days, right? I don't want to.
Yeah, I think we're
bad juju anything.
I think 108 today or 109.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think 135 is July 27th.
Okay,
and that's when I'm thinking something might happen. I don't really think it's going to happen before then. I candled the eggs at day 100, and there's still like a decent amount of room, one could say, like inside them. Like I didn't see anything necessarily like pressed up against the sides of the egg. And they're definitely not. Some light is still coming through. So I don't know if they're quite there yet. Yeah. But really great movement in them. I mean, you shine that light and they They move all around. Like there is definitely
cool.
a growing snake in there for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, just to quickly address the chat, I will not be at Daytona this year. I'm sorry I won't. I know it was really good meeting a ton of you guys last year. Is that chat not pulling up? Yeah, but I will not be at Daytona, especially with the move. Just coming down for Daytona is not feasible, especially with Colubrid Fest right around the corner after that, and I'm doing the road tripping again for that. So yeah, I will not be at Daytona. I'm not sure if I will be while I'm living here ever, but yeah. But that just, it is what it is. I'll be at Colubrid Fest. So yeah. And what's up to everyone in the chat, by the way? Sorry, I'm not trying to ignore yous, but yeah, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in there and we will try our best to address them. But anyways, next on our panel, we got Mr. Oxycephalum extraordinaire, Jared. What's up, Jared?
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Good, man.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
All right. And then we got our rhino rat snake extraordinaire, also with some jansenii to add to the conversation. We got Mr. THN, Justin Smith himself. What's up, Justin?
What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Keller's very disappointed that you're not going to Daytona. I can tell you that.
I know he is.
I've decided to do the rocket run down to Daytona, so it's like 6.5 hours, and I'm just gonna leave at like 3 a.m. and then
Nice.
haul ass down there, go to the show till probably 4 p.m. and drive back.
Oof, man, Jake did that one year, and he said it was miserable. But
I mean, it's something, but I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss the show again. There's some people I definitely want to, see, spend some time with.
I did that the first year I went. Yeah, that's a rough drive. I did that the first year with my brother because that's when we first moved down and we didn't really know anyone.
Yeah.
So we drove there that day, but I was also only 3 to 3.5 hours, if even that, away. So wasn't that bad of a day. Left early, came back in the afternoon, and got home at a decent time. I
mean, I just put a couple good podcasts on,
Also,
2-3 podcasts. Listen to music for a little bit. It ain't that bad, especially if you drive at night. There isn't anybody on the road, especially heading south.
Yeah,
it'll be empty.
Exactly. All right. Well, fellas, obviously we're here for a reason, and it's to give appreciation to our great genius, Gonyosoma. So, if you guys want to kind of go around in whatever order you guys want and kind of give what your collection size looks like at the very least, in terms of Gonyosoma, and what you're working with, just as kind of a preface before we get started, and then we'll kind of dive into our topics for the night.
Chaz and Jared, I think, have more than I do in that regard. So you can go clockwise from Joe if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2.2 adult jansenii, and then I have a female that is about 4 years old that I definitely could have fed a little bit more to. She was the first jansenii that I ever got, and I was a little hesitant to really give her the food. So she's probably, I'm thinking maybe she'll go come spring. So 2.3. And I have 4.1 oxys of various ages.
Nice.
And are we including rhinos and stuff too, or just specific?
Oh, we're gonna give rhino numbers.
I mean, if let's do Gonyosoma clade.
I have 4.8 rhinos.
Jesus.
Nice.
4.8, huh?
I love rhinos, man.
Well, I mean, so, all right. I have 12 adult oxys. I've got holdback male from last year. And then I have 7 hatchlings so far. And I have 5 more clutches in the incubator of oxys. And we got 1.1 rhinos. And I got 1.1 Prasinum.
Nice.
Cool. I just have the 1.1 jansenii. I have 1.1 Prasinum. Supposed to be the Vietnamese Prasinum. And then rhino-wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 2.2 on the adults, and then I've got another 1.2 on the youngsters.
I see.
That's it. So
I see Mike in the chat. I got
what's that? A Chapala?
the Chapala from him. A couple.
Nice. Those are cool.
I freaking love those things. Mine are sitting right here off my living room.
And yes, Keller, I am here for my Gonyosoma participation trophy. Thank you.
Listen,
as am I my 1.2 rhinos, but yeah.
When are yours going to be ready to go, Joe?
My female absolutely is. The male I have is questionable, but he's growing quick. I don't know if he'll be ready next year. I am a little scared because he's still on that smaller size, but I feel like he's in a big growth spurt. But my female is way ready. So
hell yeah,
because she's like a 21, and I got her as an adult. So yeah.
They're very gentle breeders too. You might get a little bit of like nipping, biting behind the neck. But for the most part, as long as you don't put 2 males together, like in my experience, like very gentle.
Yeah. So we'll see. If I think he's at a size where she won't eat him, maybe I'll try next year. But I gotta boost him up this year if I really want that to happen.
They only eat Barons racers. That's the only
yeah.
That does seem to be a trend with younger rhinos. I don't think I've ever heard of an adult rhino or even subadult rhino cannibalizing. I've only seen that with mostly smaller ones. So maybe.
Well, Justin, you've said like you have an aggressive breeder, don't you? But it's a male.
I have, yeah. So I've got I forgot about him. So I've got 3.2. He's bigger, but yeah, he was he made me a little nervous as far as pairing him up, but I did put a female in with him for a handful of weeks. Cohabbed him full time. I think he tried, but nothing happened.
Gotcha.
And she did have some sort of what's the word? Not scars, but like some what appeared to be some damage on her neck from where he had, at least attempted.
Gotcha.
Right.
But my main concern with that was that because he's so much larger than my other adults, and putting that smaller female in with him, that he's also got a crazy food response. So my main concern was that he would get overly excited, not realize that she was what she was, and something happened. But that wasn't the case. I left them together for a handful of weeks, and she as it normally goes when you put in a female with a male, or vice versa, the females usually are kind of freaked out and don't know what to do, and so they just kind of start doing laps. and then after, you know, a day or two, if things calm down and they just settle in just fine. So now I have a different male in with that same female. We'll it's late in the year. I doubt anything's going to happen, but I was like, you know what? This male I haven't paired him with any girls yet. So I was like, let's give him a shot. You know, we'll see what happens. So they've been cohabbed, and nothing's happened that I can tell. I have a habit of just throwing stuff together sort of throughout the year, just on a whim to see what happens. And I'm pretty much almost always unsuccessful. So why not?
All right. Well, cool. I think that puts us into our segue of really getting into, you know, the main talks of what we wanted to talk about tonight. I know we were more so talking about our true Gonyosoma, the oxycephalum, and the jansenii. You know, we kind of wanted to give, or you know, again, this was mostly Chaz's idea, so I don't want to take credit for it, but this is really supposed to be a full guide to natural history, captive keeping, breeding, just general care, all that good stuff.
Rhinos need to be like their own roundtable entirely.
Yeah, probably.
In the works.
Cool. All right. So I mean, that kind of lets us start off with the natural history portion of it. For what we wanted to talk about. So I don't know if Chaz, you want to lead off with that segment?
Yeah. So I figured we'd start with jansenii, and I got some information together. There was a paper that came out in 2024 that had some really fantastic information in it.
Is that the one you sent me?
Yeah. And
All
it
right.
is called
I think the links are making me laggy, so whether it's you guys or in the chats, just let me know if the stream goes wonky, but I'm going to try to pull this up and keep it up for at least a little bit.
So the paper, like I said, came out in 2024 in September, and it's the revalidation of the arboreal Asian snake genus Gonyophis, Rancophis, and Radenophis. And on each of these species, they give a really great natural history portion. And that's true for oxys, jansenii, rhinos are in there, green bush, rain rats, and the royal tree snakes from Singapore. So for jansenii, they were discovered in 1858 by Peter Bleecker, and he was a Dutch medical doctor and a herpetologist. The species is named after Albert Jansen, who was an administrator in the Dutch East Indies, and he lived on Sulawesi and later became the Governor General of what is now Jakarta. The Sulawesi blacktail rat snake inhabits primary rainforest, both lowland and montane, in addition to disturbed areas and mangroves, often in association with rivers and domestic dwellings. They're semi-arboreal and diurnal. They're shy and active hunters with a diet that includes birds and mammals. Reproduction is oviparous with 2 to 9 eggs in a clutch, with up to 4 clutches in a year. I think there's one account of more clutches than that. It's kind of hard to get super accurate information on that, and I have kind of a hard time. I just can't see how they're putting out more than 4 clutches a year, and there's currently nobody breeding jansenii that I don't think that is getting more than 3 clutches. So that's kind of interesting. Neonate size is 420 to 566 millimeters. This species inflates its neck vertically in a defensive posture made possible by a tracheal lung. A rarely encountered snake, it is listed by the IUCN as a least concern species and is not included in the CITES appendix. Its vascular name is the black-tailed rat snake, or Jansen's racer, and it is endemic to the island of Sulawesi.
And they're cool.
Arguably one of the coolest rat snakes out there. There's a lot of cool rat snakes, but very few get that crazy neck puff. I have one that does like the half mouth gape and just like hangs his tongue out the side of his mouth and does the slow tongue flick. And you just know that they mean business, man.
They let you know when they're over your shit real quick.
Yes. The
Is this not sharing? Has it not been sharing?
It is. It's just taking a minute.
There we go.
Yeah, kind of a slow scroll there. It's a really interesting snake to view on something like iNaturalist. There's not a ton of pictures there. But one thing that I found pretty interesting recently while I was on there just a couple days ago looking for some new pictures, is there's 2 pictures on there in different parts of Sulawesi that look like black jansenii, which before we thought were either coming from the island of Slayer, and now I think we're pretty positive that everything that's getting exported is coming from Jampia.
I think there was some question too at one point if they were even actually jansenii or if it was a form of oxy too. But
man, I think you'd have to find like an enthusiast like us that knows how to do taxonomy work,
like scale counting and all that.
Yeah,
well, I think the person who put that. I think the person who put that in my head was Rob Stone.
I mean, even if you look at pictures,
we talked
like
about
they
it
are
on the episode I had with him.
There's enough differences that you could definitely draw that conclusion.
I think it was mostly just from the standpoint of the head shape seeming to have more of an oxy sort of look to it in terms of not being nearly as chunky and sort of squared off.
Right.
But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they were jansenii, and you know, so.
I haven't had my hands on like jansenii really, so I couldn't really put much input into it.
And the question on whether they are exanthic or not, they're not exanthic. They hatch green. They look like a regular jansenii oxycephalum.
I do wonder if those ones are, and this is something I'd have to do some looking as far as like altitudes and elevations and stuff, as if those black ones are just at a higher elevation than other jansenii populations, and that's why they are that dark, or if that particular gene pool, you know, in that particular island, it's just been closed off long enough to where that's become a common thing. But
and man, I've looked at like all the sites, the INAT, all the herping groups, everything that I can find, and I can't even find a black jansenii on Jakarta or not Jakarta, on Jampia or Slayer.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. It's the thing with jansenii that's been the most frustrating thing for me as far as keeping them and trying to find information is like there's a very large disconnect between them in the wild and them in captivity, because, and it's been extremely frustrating from the breeding standpoint, because like you said, they're a species of least concern as far as conservation goes. They're not uncommon where they are from the looks of it. Like with the amount that are being imported, like clearly they're very prevalent in the wild. So they're breeding a lot. So they're producing a lot. So it's like we get them in captivity, and it's been a struggle as far as, you know, aside from like Daniel Schwint and, you know, a couple other people, producing them regularly has been challenging. And so it's like the most frustrating thing to me is like clearly where they are naturally, they're kind of like the black racers we have here. Like they're not hard to find. They're not hard to come across. Like they're doing very well. But for some reason, when we get them, we have them in a box. There's something we're missing is kind of where I'm at with it. But,
right. And if they're truly doing, 2 to 4 clutches a year, even 5 at a time, you're talking about a single adult putting out 20 offspring. And obviously those aren't all going to live.
Right.
It's
not a fecundity issue. It's definitely not.
No.
It's not from a lack of trying. It's been like mine, at least in the last year or two, I find slugs in my setup all the time. Like when I go and do a deep clean or substrate change, once, twice a year, whatever. Even just going through and spot cleaning, like I almost always find at least 1 or 2 slugs.
It's crazy.
And that wasn't something that I noticed until the last year or two. So I think that female hit a particular point in maturity where she started producing much more regularly. Because when I got my pair, they were both younger. They weren't neonates. They weren't juveniles. Like they were just smaller adults.
Okay.
And I keep mine together full time. I cohab mine 24/7, 365. Like they don't get separated. They don't get breaks. Like they in my opinion, and we can get into this, a little bit more. In my opinion, I think they do better cohabbed. And like I said, it hasn't been getting them to breed. That hasn't been the issue. It's boiled down to incubation and the eggs. Currently, Chaz has, his couple that are sort of getting to that point to where we're getting into prime time for some babies. I currently have 1 egg that is at about 117 or 18 days. I found that it was another one where I was spot cleaning, lifted the hide. It was an egg. It looked half decent. It was a little indented because it didn't have so much moisture. So I separated it, put it in a deli cup with some spag. It's bounced back. It still looks pretty rough, so I'm really not expecting it to hatch, but knowing my luck, this will be the one that I'm going to ignore and forget about. And then all of a sudden I'll walk in and I'll see a baby jansenii just chilling there. So we'll see. But that was sort of the 1 egg out of all the duds that I've had that I'm like, okay, that actually looks pretty good. Let's don't throw it away, because unless it's for sure a dud, I don't like to, I'll sit on eggs until I can tell for sure that they're done, regardless of the species. But we're at 118 and this thing seems to be okay. I'm trying not to, I don't want to bounce around too much because I'm getting to the whole candling and thing and stuff too. So back to what I'm talking about. Getting breeding and getting eggs does not seem to be the issue with that species. It definitely seems to be, there's something we're missing as far as incubation and eggs, is my hypothesis.
And it's funny because there's folks in Europe that are like, incubation problems? What are you talking about? They just don't seem to have them. And maybe their approach in systems are just in favor of incubating those eggs.
Well,
maybe we're overthinking it in
also
some terms.
Tough for me because I have my sample size is a pair. So it's hard for me to say for sure that this is what's going on. Like when I talk about jansenii and I talk about jansenii eggs, keep in mind that I have a pair. That pair has stayed together pretty much since I got them, and that's the extent of my scope with that species, is having this pair. I do want more at some point. I just gotta, space wise, it's a species that you definitely need to give a little more space to, and sort of going with the corn snake method of a rack in a smaller size tub that sort of fits the bare minimum. I don't think does them justice, but
me neither.
I'm trying not to derail and tangent. Natural history.
How long have you had that pair? What I remember watching, I think you had some older videos on YouTube. 2020?
5 years ish, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like it's been that long, but yeah, we're around there somewhere. 4, maybe 5 years. I'd have to go back and look. So now I'm curious. I'm terrible at record keeping. I'm terrible at keeping track of that kind of stuff.
I've been doing a terrible job at record keeping and documenting everything this year. But what can you do?
Man, for me, I just do the index cards, as you see on the cage, and every time I see something, whether I think like if I'm actively trying to breed something, I document every shed, every feed, every lock, and I just, most of the times when I'm doing animal stuff throughout the day, or it's my day off or something, I just keep a pen in my pocket, and I walk by a cage. Oh, you shed, boom, jot it down, and at least I have something to reference off of, rather than oh, when did this happen? And if I don't have a pen on me, or if I'm just like walking by, I'll snap a picture with my phone, time stamps it, the day.
That's more my style.
Yeah, go back and look at it later. Plus, once I say I'm lucky enough to be 4 or 5 jansenii clutches in, I want to be able to have this data of, okay, this is average prelay. This is really what's going on when they're building, when they're breeding, taking body weight or body temperature readings with a temp gun, really trying to nail down what these different cues are and what the best parameters are.
Yeah.
Shall we do?
Here we go.
2020
is when I got mine.
Nice. Who did you get those from?
Doc Loafman.
Nice.
Yeah, he had the pair.
Good.
They had them on they had them on display there at the university, and he's like, they're not good display animals. He's like, they're stressed. They're just not doing well. He's like, I had recently talked about them at that point on a podcast, because they had been a dream species of mine for a while, and he's like, I got a pair. I want you to take them and see what you can do with them. And I've set them up and had them since. And they were, granted, they weren't again, they weren't older adults when I got them. They were imports, but they were younger imports. And I think that played a big part in why it was such a smooth transition for them. Because they seemed to settle in right away. But I also learned quickly, just from interacting with them a little bit, that they're a species that needs a lot of visual barriers and a lot of hiding options, because if you don't give them any of that and you just have them sort of in a room, especially with a lot of traffic in it, they're just going to freak out and stress out constantly. And if you give them a lot of hiding options and a lot of visual barriers, they seem to do really well. If they can, the less you can see them, the better. It's kind of my take on them. But.
Right. And even from like going back to that natural history standpoint, like if you go and look on INAT, I would say 75% of the pictures that aren't road crew snakes, they're in a tree.
Yep, they're off the ground.
They're in a tree.
Which is interesting too, because I've given mine climbing options, and I spend a decent amount of time sort of cruising and stuff if I'm not in the room. But a lot of the times they'll be in the hide. I got a big cork round that they'll both stuff themselves into and hang out in.
Right.
usually if, they'll be out and about, but if I walk in the room, unless they're looking for food, they pretty much take off and disappear. Which to me is, it's okay, because that usually means that they're content and they're happy if they're not looking at me. So
right. Shall we do?
Sorry, I find the oxys are usually off the ground, depending like how I have them set up. If I have like my hiding spots, like I make these weird bird houses and I keep them up high, they'll stay in there. I've kept them in like different like types of enclosures where like there's more hiding space in the ground. I just think like the main thing is like they want to feel safe, and like if the abilities to like go climb in a tree and like they can maintain that like ability to like see what's going on, that's probably what they would prefer. But like again, like if your hiding areas are like eye level with them, they're probably not going to feel that secure. So it's like,
Chaz, do you find that your oxys are more arboreal over the jansenii, having both?
Yeah. The oxys definitely, like I have a captive bred female from Mr. Maleri here in my living room, and I don't think she's ever touched the ground, to be honest with you.
Really?
She never. Yeah, she literally never goes to the ground.
That's a Malaysian, right?
Yeah. I have an adult that I just moved from like a Christmas tree tub. So there was like 18 inches worth of arboreal opportunity. Moved her into a 3 wide, 4 tall, 2 deep, and or moved him rather, and he's still hanging out down low, but he's pretty freshly imported. So I think, and I just put him in that cage like 3 days ago. So I think once he figures out that he can get up high, I imagine he's going to stay up there. And then the one that you sent me, Jared, is like hardly an oxy. Like the thing is like, look, I'm a corn snake. Like thing is just like so friendly, face pressed up against the front of the cage, like always watching.
I think once we have like a bunch of like captive animals, like they're going to make good captives.
Yeah, dude. And he's really not even that bad to take out. Like if you put your hand in there, he's going to bite you. But if you take him out with a hook, he still might bite you.
Yeah.
But like it's not.
But they're like manageable, Like I feel like they're no worse than like I got some like a pair of Chinese beauties, and those hate me.
Really?
And I feel like a lot of people have like really chill beauty snakes, but mine, they hate my guts.
You
no worse than the oxys.
You cohab those beauty snakes?
I've kept them separate since she laid.
Gotcha.
She got some my first time dealing with dystocia, so I have her separated right now. So
gotcha.
I wouldn't see pulls through, but
dang.
Yeah.
Such as breeding.
Yeah. With life, there's death, right? But,
yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Shall we jump into oxys?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Frederick Boie, Boie, is who discovered the species in 1827. German entomologist, herpetologist, ornithologist, and a lawyer. The translation of oxycephalum means oxus, O-X-U-S, means sharp or pointed, and cephala means head, so pointed head. Inhabits a variety of primary and secondary rainforests, from humid tropical evergreen forest to secondary and open forests. Also includes mangroves, marshes, riverbanks, and even disturbed areas in rural gardens. Preference for vegetation and branches near or overhanging fresh or brackish water. Activity is mainly diurnal, but also crepuscular and nocturnal at times. Adults are strictly arboreal, except the Javanese snakes, which are mainly terrestrial, with juveniles being more semi-arboreal in nature. Diet consists mainly of birds and bats, the latter caught in flight near cave entrances, although bird eggs and arboreal mammals like tree rats and tree squirrels are also eaten. Juveniles feed on lizards and cave crickets, which we can talk about that. That's really interesting. Reproduction is oviparous, with mating occurring in the trees in 2 to 12 eggs in a clutch, 1 to 4 annual clutches, and neonates measuring 229 to 560 millimeters. As a defensive strategy, this snake will inflate its neck region vertically, exposing the black interstitial skin beneath. This is a sign by the presence of a tracheal lung, which has numerous inflatable air sacs. According to IUCN, it is the least concerned species and is not included in the CITES appendix. Its vascular name is the red-tailed green rat snake or red-tailed racer. Its distribution is Cambodia, India, in the Andam Islands, Indonesia, Bali, Bangkok, Java, Kalimantan, Sarawak, West Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Bantan Islands, Lubang, Luzon, Mindanao, Mindoro, Palawan, Ceylon, the Sulu Islands, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Recorded from 20 to 1,400 meters in elevation.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was
crazy.
Insane.
A girl I work with is from Manila, which I believe is like the Philippines or something like that.
Philippines.
Yeah.
She said they're like a very common snake there. She's not into snakes, but she like saw me think she's like, oh, we have these all over the place. So I don't know. It's
Crazy.
Well, every time I see Rupert's Reptiles post one from like a different spot, it's always a different color. And I meant to talk, I was going to mention that when you were talking about the heights, I feel like every time he finds them, they're always elevated. Every video I watch that, he finds them, they're always semi-elevated or they're like way up in the trees and they just happen to like look up and see it. And they're like 100 feet up or they're, in a low hanging tree. But yeah.
I didn't even know he did videos. I follow him on Instagram. That's like exciting.
Oh, his YouTube videos are awesome, especially if you're into, because he finds a ton of oxys.
Yeah. My buddy Henry is over there with him right now. And this was like 2 days ago. He's like, we just found this oxy like 5 minutes ago.
That's crazy.
Like so insanely jealous.
Have either of you offered yours eggs?
I've tried chicken eggs, which are probably too big for them, but I bought some fertile quail eggs at the last expo I went to.
Yeah.
And I ended up like forgetting them there. So, but yeah, I would like to try that. I've done like chicken hearts and like some other like weird stuff, but not eggs.
So funny story. The last time I was down in Daytona, was staying in a hotel, and Skylar Williams, shout out Skylar, brought me like a gallon paint can size container of quail eggs. And you know how Daytona is, like everything's a rush, like just zooming back and forth one place or another. We must have left. I got home and I'm like, where the heck did these eggs go? And we must have left them in the hotel room, unwashed, just covered in poop. Just an entire coffee can of quail eggs. It's like, so no, I had the opportunity and blew it. I've tried the like I can get like the dozen quail eggs from like Publix.
Yeah.
I want to pay like $9.
Are they that much now? I think last time I got some, they were like $6.
And plus Publix, come on.
Yeah.
I could not believe how small the button quail eggs actually were, though. I was like, this would be nothing. This would be nothing.
Yeah.
So even if they would eat them, it'd be a waste of, $8.
Yeah,
right.
I can't remember if I tried it with mine or not. I want to say I did because I tried quail eggs with just about everything just to see if it would take it. Like corns, Bairds, all of it. I was like, let's just like, hey, well, will they take it? And I can't remember if I offered it to jansenii or not, but I know I've given them frog legs.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't tried the frog legs.
Mine did not hesitate with frog legs, which interestingly enough, my chondros also do not hesitate to take frog legs. So for anyone keeping chondros, they took those just as voraciously as they did mice.
Interesting.
But I do, and they were like some of the last ones I would think that would take frog legs, especially as older animals. I was like, there's no way they're going to have any interest in these, but sure enough, I had more success with chondros taking those than I did most of my corn snakes and stuff. So it's pretty wild, but I do want to try eggs again. My female and the male, the male would probably be able to handle a smaller chicken egg. My female could take a regular size one without any issues. So maybe I'll see if my next door neighbor who has chickens and is trying to push eggs off onto us all the time, see if I
think that would be like a better way to go too, like an egg that like hasn't been washed. And,
I think the scent is going to have a big part in it, and I think that might be why my first run with the quail eggs with a lot of stuff went over pretty lackluster, just because they were from the store. They were clean. I can't imagine they have a whole lot of scent to them once they've been washed and processed and stuff. So I definitely have to. Maybe I can do that today. See if I can sneak over there and snag some.
Right. You should. Those are quail eggs you're talking about.
Chicken.
You should just buy some quail and be like, here, raise these up for me. Give me a couple eggs.
Yeah. I'm going to supply you with an army of quail, and I'm going to take all the eggs.
Heck yeah.
How were we as far as oxys go, though? What size setups do you have your adults in currently, Jared?
My favorite.
And are you cohabbing any of them too?
All of them are cohab, except like the yearlings and stuff, and like the hatchlings. Right. But so my like go-to is like the 4x2x2. I grab like whenever I see something for a good deal on like the Facebook Marketplace, I like grab and like upgrade kind of as I go. But I have some like weird, like I have this weird. It's like 30 something inches by 36 inches by 18 or 20 inches. It's like a Neodesia. It's like a weird shape. They seem to do pretty well in there. I've a pair in 36 by 36 by 18 inch Exoterra that they've been like in here for years and have done it really well. But I mean, if I could pick, it would be the 4x2x2, or if something taller, because I find they like really utilize like every inch you get them. Yeah,
definitely. And then as far as it seems like, I don't know if y'all would agree with me, but it seems like just within the last like year or two, your egg production on those has like freaking quadrupled almost. Are you noticing any pattern as far as the time of year they're laying? Like, has it been consistent from year to year, like when yours have been dropping and breeding and things like that, or is it kind of
I've gone eggs throughout the whole year. I'm seeing like a direct correlation with like heavy feeding, breeding, eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think where they come from, it's probably like when there's heavy food availability, they eat like crazy, they breed like crazy, and it also seems like they can shut it off real quick too. Because the first few years, like I felt like I was like, oh, I figured it out. I saw a lock, I see eggs, I feel eggs, I'm gonna get eggs, and then they would disappear. Because I feel like, when I used to do boas, once you see them, once you think they're gravid, I would, hold back on the food and they would take off. Where I feel like these guys, you got to like make sure they like
don't take your foot off the gas.
Don't take your foot off the gas. Keep feeding them. I've kind of taken the foot off the gas right now because, I mean, I am not a snake salesman, and I'm nervous. I've kind of overdid it this year, and I did this a couple years ago, and I hated it. So I'm trying to take the foot off the gas right now.
You have my address.
Yeah, I do. Listen, we'll see how it goes. You might get a box because, again, I would love to be able to sell them, but talking to people and walking them through it isn't always the easiest.
Right.
I've walked a couple people through it, and you tell people one thing and they're like, yeah, but my way will work too. Maybe it will. But
by all means,
don't ask me if you don't want my opinion. But
I think in that instance, a lot of people are just looking for justification or validation in what they want to do.
I just don't have time for that,
No.
But I've tried a bunch of different things. A lot of them have worked. If they worked because I did them or they just happened to work, I don't really know.
Right.
Not last year, I think the year before, I did the whole month of December. I separated all the males, and then January 1st threw them together, and I got eggs and stuff. But was that because of or in spite of? I don't really know. But this year, I mean, kind of like clockwork. I even had 3 females that I got in October, fresh imports that laid eggs for me this year. So I mean, I'm feeling it's kind of dialed in. I'm trying to create a wet season with tons of food availability, and it's seeming to work.
That seems to be sort of as far as Gonyosoma.org and all the information that Freight sort of compiled and put together. That was what he sort of mentioned was upping the humidity and upping the food seems to really trigger with both species. It seems like,
right. I think I sent it to you, Justin, but there's this older, from 1995 or the 1990s. There's another paper, but it's very similar to Freight's, but kind of the same thing where humidity, they would do because I have also noticed they don't tolerate being wet well.
Yeah.
So what this guy did was he took a little fish tank with a fish tank heater, put that in there with a cover on it, so it made the ambient
humidity,
but he kept them on sawdust,
Huh.
But I just been trying a deep substrate, and I have I have a hose in my room, and I do it on a fine mist, so I'm misting them every day, but not really
not heavy
the substrate get too wet.
Right.
Yeah. My male that actually looks like the one I sent Chaz, I switched out the substrate the other day, in a rush, and it was too wet, and now it has some blisters on it, and I'm pissed because I usually make my substrate and let it dry out for a week first, but it just stayed too humid in the bin, so now it's got blisters. So I have it on paper towel. I'm trying to dry them out.
It is quite literally insane how quick they blister.
Yeah.
I mean, it is as quick as you'll blister walking around in wet shoes. Have you ever gone hiking and it's 15 minutes later you got blisters on your feet?
Hold on, I'll be right back. My son is banging on the door. I'll be sorry. Bear with me.
Sorry.
I don't see. I because I'm in South Carolina. Humidity. I'm on the coast of South Carolina too. Humidity is not an issue here. And honestly, I keep my jansenii and my rhinos bone dry.
Yeah.
As far as the substrate goes, I put a lot of stock in oversized water bowls.
Yeah.
Especially for green trees and stuff. I have one green tree that is constantly has a bad shed, and I can't figure out for the life of me what the issue is because I've done everything. But aside from that animal, everything else, I just use really big water bowls, and that seems to be a simple solution. I mean, granted, up north where Jared and Joe are, it may be a different story, but fortunately, where Chaz is, where I am, like humidity is pretty rarely an issue. And a big water bowl goes a really long way. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked a lot with a lot of those species that do need more humidity and stuff like that. It's like it's kind of the opposite of like your desert stuff. So like my Bairds and Subox that I had previously, like in the rough scaled Sambo, is like smaller water bowls because those just don't need that much humidity.
Right.
But for the stuff that does need more humidity, like a large water bowl does a lot more than you think it would. And then having like pretty much not all the rhinos, but a lot of the rhinos, and then the jansenii also have a humid hide, full of spag. And even that, sometimes those get dry, and it doesn't seem to matter. I use a lot of live plants as well. Just a pothos in a pot with a lot of my stuff. That seems to help.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, I keep mine pretty dry. But I also think that helps when it comes to breeding and upping that humidity. Like when it's drier like that, ambient, drier for the most part, considering instead of keeping them wet all the time. Like when you do mist, I feel like that really sort of jumpstarts things, and then they, it sort of simulates that wetter season, especially if you do it a little bit every day. At least with the jansenii seems to be the.
I feel like people don't understand that like water does not equal humid. Like it's just wet. Like if the water has no way of getting into the air, if the cold end of your cage is soaked, you don't have humidity. You have wet substrate, and that's all it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I mist, it's like fine mist, usually it's in the afternoon that I'm spraying. It's the hottest time of the day. And I think you need humid spikes. And like by the end of the day, that cage is back to dry again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and especially I use cypress mulch.
I do too.
Like Jared, I dry my, cypress mulch usually comes wet in the bag, and I'll put it in like some storage tub, some cement mixing tub, my back porch prior to when I need it. And it starts dry. And I like using leaf litter too. I use like a lot of magnolia leaves,
mm-hmm.
and just like something that can like cup that little bit of water that I'm spraying in that cage. And that combined, I have T5 lights that kick on from 11 a.m. to 2. And then I do my spray, and the whole room gets more humid, and then it tapers off into the evening. But wet is not what you're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I also find it interesting, like in rhinos in particular, it's talked about how easily they blister and stuff too, but they don't blister when they spend hours in their water bowl.
It's because of that bacteria load, dude. If they poop in that and then sit in there, for sure. Like that'll happen to oxys and jansenii too. Like you get an animal that's like already like at the top end of its humidity level, and it's sitting on a big wet turd, and like the only hide, it pooped in its hide, and it's the only hide that's in there. Like it's gonna sit in the hide, whether it's on top of a turd or not. And
dude, like my rhino was just in shed. My rhino was just in shed. It sat in that water bowl. It had to be at least every day I opened it for at least 4 days straight. It was in the exact same spot in the water bowl, but it comes out fine. In fact, I actually thought this rhino had I think it was rubbing its face a little bit, and the horn part where that was, I thought it was gonna like fall off, or I thought it was going to be injured or something. Fresh shed, and it's actually back to normal. It's all like healed up. I'm just like,
sometimes they do get a little funny looking. I've thought that same thing too, where I've looked at one and I'm like,
well, it looked like exposed like flesh.
Base. Really?
It looked like almost exposed flesh. Like it was going. And I was like, I'm gonna have to medicate this thing. Like I was actually very close to hitting you up and be like, what do I do? But now it had its fresh shed, and it's actually good. like it healed fully.
Nice.
So,
well, do we want to touch on imports a little bit? I mean, Chaz and Jared both have.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about the blistering before.
Yeah.
I do feel like the blistering that happens with the Gonyosoma is different than the blistering that happens with the rhino rat snakes, though. Like, it's almost like the individual scales like bubble up. I don't know. It's almost like they're waterlogged. It's very weird. I haven't seen like anything like it with like any other snakes. Like, we have like, you know, wild rat like rat snakes and stuff in Massachusetts and stuff, and sometimes out of brumation they'll have like blisters and stuff. This is like very different. Like, the scales look like bulbous and swollen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what have you done as far as solving
just
that?
Drying them out. You know, I put them on paper towel.
Seems like a pretty easy fix, at least in my experience. It's, you know, let them dry out for a couple days and they're pretty much back to normal.
And even when like you're using like sphagnum hides and stuff, like you just want that mulch to be like barely wet when you touch it. Like, you don't want water coming out when you squeeze it. Like, you want to squeeze it and be like, okay, my hand is damp.
Right.
That's all they need. That's all they're looking for. Like, this isn't a wet situation. You got to think, especially for oxys, like those animals are up in trees, and when it rains and then the sun comes back out,
they're dry in no time.
Branch outside dries very, very quick. Like,
well, I was going to say, I think it's important to note that like higher ventilation is probably a very good idea as well, because they exist in so much open air. They're not fossorial. They're out in open air at all times, pretty much. Unless they're in like a tree stump or something, or in a tree or whatever. But like,
Well, again, like I feel this is a kind of like, I feel like these are snakes for like actual snake people. They're not really like pet snakes.
Yeah.
Or especially like, again, like I do find like if you keep the babies dry, they're fine. Like, again, it's like a corn snake. But the imports, like, I don't think anyone should be like getting an import to have it as a pet in their bedroom.
No, it's not what imports should be for. We're not taking animals out of the wild because you want to pay half or a third market value for an animal to be your pet. Like, don't buy something cheap just because you want it, you know?
Well, I think that's been a big problem with the two species for a long time, is like people see them. Oh, they look cool. They get big. Like, they're cheap. And so people get them. They roll in no time. And then people are like, well, these things suck. I'm never going to keep them again. You know, the same thing chondros went through for however many years before they really took off captive, you know, in the captive breeding side of things. It's, you know, and I know I still get tempted by it. Like, granted, I can manage an imported animal without any issues, but it's like, I now see them at shows, you know, I'll see some at Daytona, like Chaz. There's been a good bit of both species at Daytona the last couple of years. And it's always very tempting, but usually I kind of, I'll stop and I'll think about it and be like, do I really want to bring that kind of headache into my life right now? And usually the answer is no. But I think if you are going to do imports, really with any species, not even just Gonyosoma, like, get them as young as you possibly can. Like, in terms of, you know, going back to chondros, like my imported baby chondros seem to settle into captivity and do so much better than adult ones. Like, I feel like adult animals, when they're imports, or even older animals for that matter, they just never fully settle. Like, they never fully convert, I guess is the way, like, the word to use. They just don't seem to fully get into the groove, you know, of a room. But I feel like if you start with younger animals, it's going to be a much smoother ride and a lot easier long term. Yeah.
I agree. And like that's like, if even if you did get one, you know, imported, as a pet, the second you have to take that thing to a vet, like if you're doing what you should do, you know, and you're going to try to save this animal's life, and you know, if it comes down to that, I mean, you're going to spend 10 times what the captive bred animal costs, like tenfold. And like little animals aren't, you know, out of the woods either. Smitty, those two red tails that I picked up at Daytona a couple years ago, you know, those were babies.
You were having issues with one for a while.
Right? The first animal regurgitated 13 times. 13 times. And I was shitting bricks. Like, but it's alive in my room now.
I don't know. I had really poor experiences when I first started getting into it. The first few animals I bought a trio, and one got out of my car, or whatever. Those two animals did really well for me. One did pass after like 3 years, but it was like an adult animal. But one of them I still have to this day, and it's like clockwork for me. I mean, he's still in really good shape. He looks good. He eats. But do
you find that one to be more flighty though, temperament wise? Do you notice the difference between that one and some of the captive bred, or some of the ones that were brought in younger?
I don't know. He's like one of probably the most flighty animals. He's like never like out on display. I have like one of those like cheap $25 cameras in here. I like literally thought he like didn't leave the hide ever, but my lights in my snake room triggered by like the whole basement lights, like all my lights come off with one switch. And I noticed, like, looking through the cameras, anytime I turn the camera, the lights on, he just darts.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have other animals that are pretty bold. I feel like it's like the animal dependent, you know. I mean, the Malaysians are definitely more bold than the Indonesians are.
Really?
But I don't know. Some of them, like, this guy's always out. My female in here, she's like in her hide, but like halfway out of her hide. She's not really bothered by anything I'm doing in here. Then newer animals, like I've got, I mean, they're also like half out, half in. But that male is literally always, if he sees me, he's like tucked in the corner in one of the bird houses. So I don't know. I think it's more animal dependent. But he's also probably been messed with the most, because that was before I realized, like, yeah, you really can't play with these.
So what's been y'all's process as far as fresher imports, you know, getting them in, getting them established?
So originally I didn't really like know the process. So whenever I saw them available, I would try to grab a pair or two pairs. And the ones I was originally getting in were like pretty haggard. You know, I was able to like nurse some through, but my mind really changed about it. The last group I bought, I bought a good handful of them last year, the year before, and they all came in looking really good. And I don't even feel like I established them. They just like came in. You know, I also probably changed my approach since I started. Yeah. But again, like the animals looked good. You know, a lot of them like came in, you know, they've got like bad skin turgor. They got like the nose would be like rubbed to the point you could see like exposed bone, you know, just like in like really bad shape. And you kind of like not only like have this like flighty animal that's not going to do great, but it's like you're already starting 10 steps past, and you're kind of like nursing it back to health, and you're forced to give this thing that probably doesn't want any attention a bunch of attention. So this last group I didn't really have to give a lot of attention, you know, and they did really well. You know, I put them right into like a substrated cage with hides and stuff, and you know slowly feeding them, drop feeding them, letting them do their thing, and they just did really well. I mean, I kind of attribute it to like the last like year or two. There's more of a demand for them, whereas like before, I feel like people were probably like, "Oh, well, if you're going to take this import, you're going to take a handful of these and a handful of these," and they kind of like came in on imports versus like now there's a demand, and I think when there's a demand for things, they're better taken care of on the way over. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like, I mean, again, I haven't like had the jansenii, but I assume, you know, their ticket was higher, so the reason like the few that come in do better is because they're probably taken care of better on the way over here. You know,
I can see that.
I've seen a couple, you know, export lists out of Indonesia. You're talking a red tail on there is, I mean, very, very cheap.
Yeah,
very, very cheap.
No, I can imagine. I mean, if they're selling cheap on our end, so I mean, it's got to be dirt cheap on their end, you know.
I mean, I've seen them like $18.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Then you add, you know, export fees, which I'm sure is more than what that snake is.
Yeah.
And then you have, you know, the importer that ups it by 2-3 fold. And so we end up with $125 adult red tails, and somebody's still making, you know, 65% profit on that.
Yeah. Especially if they're doing it in decent numbers, you know, they're making even more then. So,
and they sell. So if they're like shit, I'll just get 50 of them, you know.
Yeah, and that's been a frustrating thing for me to see how many get imported and, you know, they're sold cheap, and you see how, like, when there was that weird streak where the black jansenii were in all over Morph Market, brought in huge numbers, like that weird spurt. You know, it's like,
I mean, I think
they were selling.
Still are.
Definitely not as much as they
some
were.
Of them aren't selling.
But there was a point where they were brought in a ton.
$2,500.
Yeah,
selling.
They were brought in huge numbers and sold for
you are right though, Justin.
Yeah.
And then you know, they were selling. It's like, where were they all going? How many of those are even still alive? And then, you know, fast forward like 9 months later, and now there's more. Some, like the wave had crashed, and now they were selling for $600 a piece instead of, you know, $1,000. It's just it sucks to see so many get imported, because, you know, like how many people are buying those that really don't know what they're signing up for. And, you know, it kills me that they get shipped over here basically just to die.
Well, and it's like, again, like it's one thing to like get sent in like an animal that like looks okay. Like I'm telling you, like I get these animals, I'm like, who put this in a bag?
Yep.
Who
destined to die?
So because you know, fool me once, you know, shame on you. But there was like a company. The second time I ordered from them, again, because it was the only way I could get them. You know what I mean? Like I wanted, like, this is my thing. I'm gonna make it work. And I'd call up and I'm like, I'm gonna send this back if its nose is rubbed off and it's drooling when I take it out of the bag. Like I'm sending it back, and they're like, I would never send anything like that. And you know, even like sexing them, I'd be like, you run a reptile shop, you can't probe this before you send it here. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, I called. They're like, yeah, well, this is a male, first of all. And they're like, oh well, it looked like a female to me. Like, okay, whatever. Like, I can get over that, but like, I can see this thing's nasal bones. Like, I'm sending it back. I'm not.
It's it sucks, man. I think though, if you're in the position of you know, like Jared is saying, where he's like, I'm committed to this species, I'm committed to really pursuing them and trying to get them established as far as captive bred animals and things like that, like, you kind of have to go the route of getting that group of wild caught animals and sort of establishing it and establishing them and sort of carrying it on from there. Like, you don't really have any other option, especially when you're talking about a species that isn't bred in captivity really hardly at all.
And I mean, I do like feel not bad for people, but like I do like have sympathy for people that like have to feed their kids like by selling animals. Like,
yeah.
you know, they get this animal from overseas that they can't return or probably don't get credit for, and you know, they're stuck with it, and they just like try to see what flies. And but at the same time, it's like, not me. I'm not taking it.
There's been such like since importing of reptiles, like once you made your connection, like you try not to lose it to start with. And there were so few people that could acquire, you know, this stuff that you just took what you took. And now like there's really people like putting their foot down and, you know, saying, if you send me a bag of garbage, you will never be, you know, I will never be a customer of yours again. Which
well, I'll use my credit card.
Does it?
My credit card, and I'm like, Chase, this is the deal. Get me my money back. Like,
yep.
And I have pictures, and this person doesn't know anything about animals, and they know this is wrong. Like that's like how bad it is. Like this, like you don't have to be an animal expert to know. Like you sent me a fucked up snake.
Yeah, you sent me a dead snake in a bag.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that is those individuals just rolling the dice as to if somebody actually do something about it or not.
Yeah.
You know, like how many people are going to be like, well, I guess I could send it back, but then I got to pay for shipping, and then, you know, got to deal with all the sort of the pushback from the seller themselves. Like, I think they're some of them are doing that betting that you're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
That it's just going to go, you know, right under the radar. And they're not going to have to answer or do anything about it.
I actually like did deal with like someone that's like well known that imports stuff, and it was kind of funny because they could tell I was like excited about the snakes, and they're like, I have some, but I'm not going to send them to you. I'm going to send them to my wholesaler and reach back out in a few months. And if I have something, I'll send it your way. But like, I don't know, I don't know. I feel like you really do have to like call and communicate with these people, you know, because again, some of these bigger companies, like, you know, the guy who runs it might be an okay guy, but he's got some 16-year-old kid that's like, I don't care. My job is to pack this snake in the box. I'm packing them in the box and I'm sending them, you know?
And not that I'm justifying lack of care, but like some of these places are getting, you know, shipments of 10,000 plus animals at a time of all, you know, they're dealing with snakes and turtles and frogs and spiders and scorpions and all the different things. And like you're saying, you know, there's some young folk there taking care of these. And like their you know, their section is 1,000, 1,500 animals to care for. When you only have so much time in the day and you've got to get your stuff done, your section done, you know, you're flying, you know, you're cruising through them. And like when you see one thing that you know you should correct, it's like, well, I don't have 10 minutes to tend to every single small detail. Again, this is not justification for anybody. This is just what is happening.
Yeah, you can see how it happens. You know what I mean? And
there's 6 animals, and it's going to require, you know, an hour of your time, an eighth of your day to treat this thing accordingly. And then again, they're just taking all of this stuff and just sticking it in racks at set temperatures. So that thing is just baking in the back of a rack, you know, at 88 degrees, you know, next to a ball python.
Yeah. And that's like I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say these like it cool, because they certainly don't like it cool, but they also don't like to cook.
No.
You know?
No.
Yeah.
But I feel like importation wise, things really are getting better. like you said, Jared, the more demand, the more people that are willing to put their foot down when they get things that aren't great. Like all that stuff matters. And it's like easy to think like, oh, I'm just an individual and I just ordered one snake and it, came in atrocious. Say something, do something about it, because that stuff catches up to everybody.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yep. And if you are like when I call companies too, even if there's not things on the website and whatnot, and I'm like, hey, do you have this? Do you have this coming? How do you keep this? What's your protocol when these animals come in? And if it's like not in line with what I would do, I just simply say, hey, I'm really passionate about this animal. I've had a decent amount of success. Are you open to hearing any pointers? And like, there is not too many places out there that have shut me down. Like, honestly, like
a lot of people think they're doing the right thing too, right? Like,
right.
People, they this is also an investment for them, right? They want it to do well.
Yep.
I mean, it's in their best interest to have animals that are going to survive, because how many times are you going to get something from an importer and then it dies and be like, well, I'm never buying from them again?
Yep.
100%.
I got a bunch of animals from an importer that I had always heard is awful and yada, yada, yada. Again, they're probably one of the biggest ones in the business, so they have more chance to mess things up, especially dealing with live animals is not easy. Like, things happen, especially when you've got this huge facility with probably 10,000 animals coming in at a time and going from site to site, whatever. But I had a really good experience. Does that mean they're the greatest? No, but you don't know what you're going to get. And communication, if you call and say, hey, this is what the deal is.
Right.
Yeah. I just feel like your chances are better.
Right. And I grew up down south. Like, I've been to those places, into the warehouses and stuff. And it's like, until you see like the volume of animals, like, it is crazy. I mean, you're talking like those, 300-gallon Rubbermaid troughs, like animals come in. It's like, oh, that thing is full of leopard geckos. That thing is full of bearded dragons or turtles or like
sulcatas.
Yeah. Just all sorts of stuff. And it's like the volume that some of these places buy from, private people also is insane also. Crazy numbers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just think the operation's just so much smaller than it is.
Yeah.
Like one of those huge companies down in Florida, like I got to talking to one guy one day on the phone. I'm like, how many packages do you ship, a week? It's like 500 to 700.
Wild.
500 to 700 overnights a week.
Well, that's the thing. Like, these big companies that don't need to ship your reptiles and all these, they get the shipping discount because they do huge volume. Like, they don't just give that, they are doing the huge volume. The FedEx truck probably goes directly to their place every day.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. I'm not even happy. We have the truck straight to Canova.
Yeah,
we don't even ship anywhere close to that.
Yeah,
it's wild.
But I think as far as importation go, if there's wild caught animals that you're going to inquire on, get your list of questions together. When did the animals come in? What are they feeding on? What is the condition of them as far as nose rub, blisters, Are they beat up from, other animal encounters? If you're really nice to the person on the phone and you're like, hey man, can you shoot some pictures, over to me with your phone? That has also worked excellent for me. Just like, do you mind snapping a picture real quick? Stoked to see what they look like. And like, the people that are working at these facilities aren't doing it because they don't like animals. Like, they love the animals. They are ridiculously, I'm like, overworked is not the word I'm looking for, but there is so much going on there that it's a do as much as I can do environment, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like that everywhere. So like I work in the emergency department, right?
Yeah.
So I've been doing it a while. I train a lot of new nurses, and
Right.
They'll come up and be like, Dr. So-and-so just ordered this and it seems kind of weird. What should I do? I said, well, did you ask him? Like, did you talk to him? Like, because he might have accidentally did it thinking it was another patient. Like, he is also like, the emergency rooms are crazy right now. Like,
Right.
It's, I don't want to go on a political.
When are they not?
But like, when Medicare gets worse, we're in big trouble. But communicate with them. It might have been an accident. There might be something that the patient told him that they didn't tell you. And Jared, how come your patients can always go to CAT scan? Well, because I tell them why I need the patient to go to CAT scan now. And I'm nice to them. Like direct communication and like pleasant communication. Like no matter what you're doing is going to get you like that much farther. Like if you just call up and you're a dick, like people shut down and they, they're already like, oh, I'm not dealing with this. They'll hang up on you. If you're, kind and reasonable, like it's okay to be frustrated, but like, again, you be direct with the communication, be like pleasant to deal with. And a lot of people want you to do well. Like they want you to be happy. Like this is a business. They don't want to get in trouble from their boss. Their boss wants you to come here again and buy more stuff. You know?
And like when you talk to somebody directly on the phone, like, and if you're, able to get those pictures, like be like, can you put my name on this animal on the tub, for Chaz? And then when you place your order online, put in those special instructions, spoke to so-and-so on the phone.
I am Chaz.
My names are on these tubs. These are the ones that I expect to receive. These are the ones that I want. These are the ones that fit the characteristics of what I'm looking for. Just be a decent person. Like all these companies deal with a lot of people, and you don't deserve anybody's time if you're not going to be decent.
1000%.
Yeah.
I haven't dipped my toes into buying anything that was imported or wild caught, but scared for when I want to.
And like sometimes things come in great and they have other things going on and they die. Like that is how wild caught animals work. Like
captive bred animals die. You know what I mean? Like it just like animals die.
100%. Like and like you can't. It's just how it is.
I think also with imports, like there should be some level of expectation on the buyer's part that it's like there's probably going to be some things that need attention.
100%.
It's not going to come in flawless. I can't just set it up and forget it. Like you're gonna be ready to do some work.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the people that are interested are listening to things like this and, all the individual episodes we've had, and they could actually generate some sort of expectation for that. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest problem, like we're talking about all of this, is that there's a bunch of people walking into it not knowing a single thing, and someone's just buying it on a whim, whatever. And the worst part, we're talking about buying direct from like the stores over the phone and stuff. I think what's even worse than that are the reptile show. It importers, flippers, whatever you want to call them, like the bad actors, the tables that I don't go near. But like, you know, genuinely, because those tables probably do some of the most business at the show, and they're selling some of the worst quality animals at the show.
Like if I'm buying a wild,
they all too? They're to
yeah. Well, it's crazy how like brazen some people like. You're not embarrassed to have this on your table? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. If I'm buying a wild-caught Gonyosoma, like, I fully expect to have to deal with parasites to some degree. Like, I fully expect for it to possibly be problematic with eating, like, you know, right off the rip. Like, there's certain things that and just over the years of keeping different stuff too. Like I'm going to go ahead and assume it's probably going to have mites, especially if it's coming from one of those tables that we talked about.
I try to assume anything coming in here.
Yeah, you should. Everybody in the hobby should assume that the animal that they just bought has mites, and that's how you don't end up with all your stuff getting mites.
Because like mites on a snake, not an issue.
No.
Mites on all your snakes is a huge fucking headache.
It's a very easy fire to extinguish before it gets out of control.
I am so curious about that oral med though.
It's magic. Next card.
I'm hoping I don't need it, but I mean,
they just did the lizard study, and at the same dose, 2.5 milligrams per kilogram, it is just as effective for the 30 days of protection on lizards, orally administered. So like blue tongue skinks are a thing that gets mites like as regularly as skinks or as snakes from what I understand.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. On the wild caught side of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Makes sense. They have those big scales.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem to. Like I would never worry about like a
bearded dragon or something
like a crested gecko, like right when it seems like some of these things seem like the easier like target if you're a mite, but I guess because there's no place to get under and secure,
that
is just like not a good feeding opportunity. So it just like doesn't really happen. Like I've had mites and have never treated geckos or enclosures, you know.
If I had somebody come to me and they're like, hey, I'm going to Daytona and I'm going to be looking to pick up an oxy or jansenii, like what should I be prepared for? And I would have a short list of like, expect X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Like this is what you're up against. But then I also think the big thing too, and it's the same with like wild caught mangroves and stuff. I don't like treat for mites initially for sure. But as far as like internal parasites and things like that, I firmly believe that it is not a good idea to treat for those right away.
Right.
Like give that animal a couple of weeks to settle in, and then start, you know, doing whatever you need to as far as treatment for worms and things like that. Because I think if you have it coming in, it's now been through travel, it's now been in a new setup, it's in a new room, like a lot of factors going on that animal's going to be stressed and immunocompromised already. I think if you're going ahead and dosing it with stuff or doing whatever you need to do, taking it to a vet, like that kind of thing, like you're just sort of fast tracking it to failure. So right. And I know it's really hard for people. Like I get it, to get something new. Like you want it to survive, you want it to do well, and you want it to thrive. But it's like you just got to give it a little bit. Make sure it gets hydrated, offer it some food, like get some sustenance in it, and then let it kind of sit and settle for a little bit, and then tackle that problem. Like that seems to be a issue with some of the imported boiga. You know, is people, they'll get them and then they'll right away just want to hammer them with all the stuff and take them to the vet and get them squared away so that they're starting out with no issues. But I feel like you just make it worse if you just immediately go into treating stuff and trying to get things taken care of. It's like they've survived with these parasites. Like the whole point of a parasite is not to kill its host. Like
right,
they can ride with it for a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. But,
and it's not an importation issue. It's a living in the wild issue.
Yeah,
and when they're at that point of homeostasis out in the wild, that animal has no idea there's a parasite inside of it. It is just living life. Nobody needs to come behind it and hit it with some Panicure while it's in the tree for it to be well. You need to get that animal stable, and relaxed and drinking water, so an immune compromised animal does not get taken over by crazy parasites.
Because I mean, part of that too is you don't know how long, like, that animal could have just come in. It could have been in the country for a week. Like, it may not have had but a couple of opportunities to even get some fresh water in it. You know, like it could also be a long-term captive that's been in a building for, you know, a year plus. Like, but since you don't know that, go ahead and assume that it just needs time and needs hydration and needs some food before you can just start throwing things at it, or again taking it to a vet ideally. And that's a whole nother stressful thing in itself, because, you know, there's not a lot of exotic vets out there, herp vets especially. It's like your sort of standard local vet isn't probably going to be super well equipped to deal with a big pissed off Gonyosoma, and you know, that's a whole stressful event in itself. Like, it's just I think the big thing is just taking your time, slowing down, letting it settle, and then start worrying about that after, you know, 3 or 4 weeks.
I also met Freight's vet that he used at one of the local reptile expos, because he's also a Massachusetts guy, and the vet, he works for the Boston Aquarium. But it sounds like he's not bringing these things to the vet, right? Like, he's working with a vet. He's got a protocol in place. You know what I mean? And I do feel like, again, like, there's 2 different types of like keepers here, and, you know, if you're bringing your new, you know, oxy or jansenii in the critter keeper to the vet's office, you know, I mean, I feel like it's almost like worse than doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like, again, like, you're like putting it through all this stress, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like it's like a touchy subject, but I mean, I originally was like shotgunning everything that came in. And again, I don't know if it was because like the animal quality was poor to begin with. But, you know, the animals just weren't doing well. You know, again, like a handful would like make it through, you know, I mean, but again, it's like, is this working because I'm doing this, or is it working in spite of these things I'm doing that are putting extra stress on the animal, right? Like, my most recent batch, I did hit 2 with flagellant Panicure to, you know, see how they would do, and they did fine. But the other ones I didn't touch did fine as well. They're all eating well, you know, nobody's regurged, their stool looks, you know, normal. You know, my protocol from here on out is, if the animal's not doing anything weird, I'm leaving it alone.
See, and I've gotten shit for that, because I have that same mentality of like, if it's not having issues and everything looks outwardly fine, like BMs are looking solid, like there's visually nothing wrong with that animal, like, I'm not going to take it to the vet. I'm not going to run tests. I'm not going to get, like, I don't feel I need to. Like, I'm not going to go to the doctor
if you're not sick.
for if I'm not sick. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey doc, do I have the flu or COVID or a cold? Like, do you feel like you have flu, the COVID, or a cold? It's like, no. Then you, like, I don't know. There was a point a couple of years ago where there was some contention, because I had that mentality when it came to certain viruses and stuff like that. And it's like, if my animals are fine, they're eating, they're like, I'm not having problems, why am I going to go looking for them? Like, why am I going to go and like, let me see if I have Nido? It's like, even if I do have Nido, like, then what?
Well, again,
no one has an answer for that. Like, okay.
Everyone like parrots what they hear online. They read a study that, you know, made this sound good. But again, like, I work with all these brilliant doctors, and you take 4 doctors and the same patient, and they could treat them 4 different ways, and they will all die on the hill. This is why I did it. And, some people will cite studies with this like 0.9% rate of, success. And it's like, I don't know. I just think some of these things aren't as cut and dry as people want them to be. And I mean, you kind of always have to like beware the smartest person in the room. Like anyone that is like that confident in any of these things, I feel like is probably just not like experienced enough to like realize like you don't know what you don't know, right? And you don't like, again, like I have like started a protocol that I'm doing with all the animals, like feeding them and stuff. And again, like, do I think other things will work? Yes, but like if I just go through my thing, it's been working. And why start from square one if it's working? You know what I mean?
My thing is like don't bet against a sure thing.
When I was keeping
if it works, it works.
Like, oh, you can't keep a boa in the low 70s. They need to be in the 80s. Like, again, like they're doing fine. They're not getting respiratory infections. Like they're like everyone will like die on this hill because like they read it somewhere or their favorite person that does this says this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like that can be your protocol or your
2 things can also be true at once.
Yes, like
it's like because like it may work for you, but someone in Oregon or Nevada or Arizona, like it may not be the same for them. But for you, and that's what I tell people, like with my stuff, it's like, this is what works for me in my situation and where I am. Like, I can't guarantee that it'll work for you. I can tell you that this is what I did and it worked for me. But, here's what you might want to be cautious of or be aware of if you're in a particular area where things are like your care would be different.
I heat my entire room with 150 watt radiant heat panel. I mean, some people like the temperature in this room, I'm in a basement. It's very stable. My room is not pretty. It's like extremely insulated. I got foam on one wall. I've got outdoor insulation around all these other rooms. And I've got like a cellophane duct wrap on all the walls. You know what I mean? So again, like this works here, but if you had your snake room in a garage where, on the other side of that wall, it's, 0
hammered
degrees,
by sun or
it probably wouldn't be able to keep up. You know what I mean? Like,
And honestly, like with some wild caught stuff, some of it I'd be more willing to roll the dice on that than I would some random captive from somebody else. Like,
no kidding.
I've got a lot of corns. I've got a handful of wild caught corns. I worry about pathogens coming into my collection from other collections way more than I worry about those wild caught corns. Like my biggest concern with the wild caught corns is internal parasites. And even then it's never an issue. Honestly, the BMs from the wild caught corns look light years healthier than pretty much anything I see in captive animals. Why that is, who knows? But there's some things where it's like, I kind of know what I'm signing up for with some of these wild caught things, but it's from other collections and people that I don't know, crypto, whatever it may be, that I'm like a little more weary of. But even then, again, crypto and Nido are not things that I really worry about that much. Cause it's like, if they exist, they exist. Like, even if they have it, what are you going to do about it? Like it's pretty much already well established that it's pretty much everywhere,
I would.
So why lose sleep over it and worry about it?
I would kill to go to all the rat snake classified Facebook groups and all these groups that I was on Facebook in like 2019, 2020 that told me I was wasting my time with the oxys and I was just going to buy a bunch of animals that were going to die in 6 months and yada, yada, yada. And you can't cohab snakes. And I mean, I don't know. People just say stuff because they heard somebody else say it. and they don't have any experience with it, and people will just like die on these hills that like they really have no business even talking about.
And that's like, I think there's such an important part. Like if you're going to get into something like this, find somebody who is doing it the way that you want to do it, the way that you can see yourself do it, and figure out good questions to ask them. I mean, like even with Daniel, like the first time that
I'm so sad he's not here.
I know. The first time that I had ever, sent him a message, like I'm sure he thought what I probably sometimes think when somebody, sends me a not very thought out message when they're wanting to get into jansenii, and, he definitely didn't take me very serious, and it was like, okay, I'd send him a message, he'd see it. 3 weeks later, I'd get a response, not very long. And it took a long time until I got like a few animals and like really started thinking of like good questions to ask. He's like, okay, the responses started getting sooner. The responses started getting longer because nobody wants to waste their time on somebody who is, one, not listening, or two, doesn't even remotely have the skills to be doing this. Like when you work with these animals, there's a way that you have to be able to think about them, and you have to be able to think, okay, when am I going to feed the thing? When am I going to medicate it? What substrate is going to work best? Okay, I've used 15 different substrates in the past. Which can I incorporate in this situation to get the best outcome? You really have to know some medical procedures, and not just rely on other people all the time to be able to accomplish your end goal. Like you really have to sit there and think of what is going on in your situation and how you can rectify whatever's going on. Like,
yeah, and I don't want anyone with what I've said as far as pathogens and things like that. Like if you're concerned and if you're worried, like go to a vet, get tests done, whatever. Like I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm just
for sure.
I'm saying with my animals, if I don't see a problem, I'm not gonna try and find one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild caught animals, like not saying don't pursue them. Not saying don't get them. Don't not get them. It's like, it's just for me, like that is sort of the way I view things. If you're concerned about crypto and you're concerned about other things like that, then by all means up your biosecurity, do whatever you got to do that makes you feel better about how you're running things. But I just like personally, it's just, I'm not going to lose sleep over something I don't have any real control over if it's already existing,
I mean, even like a respiratory infection, like if you've never dealt with a respiratory infection before, like you should probably get familiar with what it looks like and what it takes to treat one before you start getting wild caught animals.
Know what you're signing up for.
If you've never given an animal injections before, you should probably jump on YouTube and watch some videos on all the different ways to give an animal an injection. Like there's things you can learn without even having the animal that put you in a better position to tackle these situations when they come. There's all sorts of podcasts out there, all sorts of resources, all sorts of books that you can get to put yourself in a much better position.
I cured this past year, I cured a ball python respiratory infection without medication.
Yeah. How'd you do that, Joe?
Yeah.
Baked it?
I stuck it in the incubator at 90 degrees.
Yep.
Well, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. It was in my garage in Florida. I don't know if you guys remember. It got like chilly by us for like a good stretch, and at the time I wasn't keeping heat on my racks, especially the ball pythons. Like it was just warm enough in my garage to like they were okay, and I was like, I think it's getting to that point, and I did turn the heat on. And once I did, I finally opened the tub once. I saw it open its mouth, and I saw saliva. I was like, shit. So I did that, and it worked. It 2.5 days or so in that incubator, and it was good. I just locked it in a box, basically.
Yeah, just got to sweat the fever out.
Yep. Yeah. No, that definitely works if it's not too deep.
Yeah, which is the other thing, because it was the first time I saw it, so I was like, I have to be early to the jump on this. So yeah, and my buddy told me the same thing. He was like, you might have caught it early enough that you're okay, but yeah.
Again, that's kind of the same thing with like real human medicine. You know, there's doctors out there that, you know, yeah, you're sick, go home. If you get worse, come back. And then there's other doctors that are going to shotgun you with everything. And I mean, your body can do amazing things. You know,
I have a really great podcast webinar that Dr. Scott Stahl did, he is the guy.
The guy
literally wrote the book, and it's an hour and 15-minute webinar on the different types of respiratory infections, what they look like, how to deal with them. Joe, if we put links in the chat, can people actually access them from there? No.
Can they copy and paste them and put them in their own browser maybe, though?
The problem is they probably have to be on a computer to copy and paste. You can't do it from an iPhone.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or like the YouTube app. Well, you can't do it from the YouTube app, at least. Like, you have to be on a browser to copy and paste, probably.
Gotcha. Well, anybody, if you want to watch it, definitely send me a message and I'll shoot it over to you. I have quite literally watched it all the way through 5 times.
Shoot it over to me.
Yeah, it is. Chat. But also, him and it's Dr. Stahl and Steve Diver. Their book, Veterinary Medicine, it is like
worth every freaking penny, book. Man.
Buy the book.
Buy it.
Buy the book.
And the money.
I'm telling you.
It's like what, $150?
Split it with a friend. Share the book.
I keep that thing in my dresser.
PayPal, paying for
drawer. And it is worth every penny. Even just for, not even necessarily like when I needed it, but just for the sake of like, I want to know more about X, Y, and Z. Like there's information that you will not find anywhere else. Like I cannot recommend that book enough. Like at some point, maybe if I'm feeling froggy enough, like I do want to actually like read through it. It might be like eating a bowl full of sand because of how dry it is, but the amount of information in that book is incredible. And buy it.
And even if you're just looking through, the index and just looking up, keywords of things you're interested in, that is like just absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, I can't recommend that book enough. If there was one book that I was told I could only keep one out of everything I have, which I've got a good bit. I don't have a ton, but that would probably be it. Like that's the one that I'm holding on to. And it's worth its weight, which is about 10 freaking pounds.
It is about 10 pounds.
If anything, you can use it as a weapon if someone breaks in, because if you hit somebody with that hard enough, they're done.
No kidding. And if you're looking for a reptile vet and don't know about ARAV, definitely go on the ARAV website and find your local herp vet, call them up and ask specific questions. Once again, good questions of, hey, this is a project.
I'm going to go grab my copy real quick. I'll be right back. This is
a project that I'm looking at getting into. These are the possible things that could come up. I may need, a month's worth of Baytril. I may need, an entire bottle of Baytril, which is what I get. I'm not paying for the vet visit and not leaving with the 50 cc's of Baytril. Like, I'm just not going to be your customer there.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not going to come back to you.
Most people don't. It comes back to direct communication. Like, communicate with people.
And there's great resources, you know, like on the Gonyosoma.org website, you know, when you can, you know, relate back to some of these different articles and stuff and be like, this is what I want to do. These other people in the industry have done this same thing and have been successful, like, i.e. getting these different medications and whatnot. And like, I have found that you will just like, you're just going to get so much farther if you go into it knowing something. Like,
and you're probably not the first person that's ever like came to them with this idea, right? Like, they probably have a dog breeder that comes into their vet.
Right.
You know, some exotic bird breeder. You know, these aren't like these crazy ideas. Like, farmers have been doing these things for
100%,
past 100 years, right? Like,
absolutely. You know, and if you frame it as, you know, I'm looking to work with somebody to, you know, help manage these different things that may come up in my collection. And if you look in the corner of that book too, they have a digital version that you can download also.
It's probably like 4 gigabytes.
No kidding.
Large, but
I need to buy a new phone just to put that on it.
oh, it's a workout just picking this thing up. With index, it is 1,500 pages long.
Jesus. And like, just to like give you an example, like, so I don't live very far from University of Georgia, that hospital. I actually used to live like right behind it. And that's where Steve Divers works. And the only problem is that hospital, to walk in that door is $300. So it's like when you could, you know, do the research and learn how to treat a basic respiratory infection, like right when it happens, okay, I recognize these signs and symptoms, like, boom, go ahead and take care of it, rather than, you know, spending all this freaking money because you didn't do any legwork before. There's definitely times you will have to go to the vet, for sure.
Next to my head for reference, which is huge.
Yeah, it is an insane book.
You can use it to work out.
Yeah.
It's a weapon. It's full of knowledge.
Yeah.
You can probably find it on eBay, maybe used, if you don't want to spend it, you know, the money for a new one. But I mean, it literally goes into like endocrinology, nutritional diseases. I mean, you name it. If it's medical and related to herbs, there's a whole chapter and section on bacteriology. It literally, it covers all of it. So parasites.
I had a vet down in Florida that was a bit far from me, but like he really knew his shit about reptiles. But I was at a local expo yesterday, and there was a vet office that was there, like kind of just handing out cards and stuff. And they have an exotics vet there, and they're like 15 minutes from me, which is a good thing. It's always a good resource to know where a legit exotics vet is.
And I don't know if that's what
your dog and cat
while I was gone. Like, if you have a dog and cat vet, like your local vet, like you can still take your animals to them, but it might help to be like, here's what I've done some research. Like, here's what I found. And I mean, they have a whole, because I lived with a vet for a couple of years, and they have like this giant database system too, where they can look up cases from nationwide and access like all that information too. So like, if you come to them with like, you know, I have an RI, like here's sort of what I've been reading. Like maybe if that's of any help, you know, look into A, B, and C, and that might help them. Because
it might be like helpful if you have a suggestion, because they probably have like a protocol again. And if, you know, a snake comes in, this is what we treat them with. But, you know, well, this snake usually gets gram-positive infections, and like this antibiotic seen people have good success. Sure. All right. Whatever.
And I'll tell you too, living with that vet, I mean, he did see reptiles on a fairly regular basis, but a lot of it was like ball pythons and bearded dragons. It really wasn't anything outside of sort of the bread and butter that you typically see. So you bring them something like, Gonyosoma or, chondro, whatever, like that's going to be new territory for them for probably most of the time.
Right.
So it's,
I mean, there might even be opportunity to just like book your appointment and like just do a video consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, this animal is really sensitive, stressing it out is not going to help the situation at all. Like, especially if it's like a respiratory infection, can I take good pictures for you? Can I video chat you and then come into the office after and talk to you in person about this? And like, if they're insistent that like you bring the animal in, maybe just find a new vet.
Yeah.
Fine,
feel it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. With that, with all that said, I think before we get too lost on all the wild caught stuff, I think we should go a little more. We talked about captive care a bit, but is there any more in particular that we kind of want to dive in on? I know Jared kind of gave his, enclosure sizes that he typically likes, but do we want to talk about temperatures and general, other general stuff?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead, Justin? How are you keeping yours?
So my pair is in, I believe, the similar setup to what Jared has with the 4x2x2. Ideally, I want to give them something at least taller. And my plan is to get another 4x2x2, make some sort of coupling system to where they can have access to the top one, and that be more of like an arboreal kind of setup with mostly branches and stuff, and then that bottom section be more like forest floor kind of thing.
That's cool.
I don't know when I'm going to make that happen, because I mean they've been doing fine in that 4x2x2. There haven't been any issues. My whole room pretty much stays ambient because it's a fairly small room, and with the LED light that's in that setup and the UV light that's in that setup, that kind of warms it up enough to where I think they're content. It probably puts them in the low 80s. And then a big thing, like I said sort of earlier on, a lot of hides, multiple hide options, a humid hide, a lot of fake plants. Like I get the big fake ferns from Walmart for like $5 that are, you can kind of bend them out, and they provide a lot of coverage and things like that. And then they've got some branches in there to climb on when they're feeling adventurous. And they seem to do great. But that and just an oversized water bowl, and I don't really do anything special. And I think the big thing is I pretty much leave mine alone. I really don't mess with mine unless I have to, just because they clearly do not enjoy interaction.
Right.
I'll pull them out when I have to if I'm doing like a substrate change or like a sort of a deeper spot clean. But for the most part, I'm really hands off with them. I think that's kind of a part that where people have issues is they'll take them out all the time and get videos and pictures of them, and it's like they don't do well with a lot of. They're not a play with me snake, I guess is the best way to put it. And it's doesn't do good things for them, but pretty straightforward. Cypress mulch as a substrate, big cork round, and then they've got a smaller cork round, and then they've got one of the big black ABS hides, and then that humid hide, which is I think like a 5-quart tub. The female somehow curls up in that without any issues and seems to be fine. But yeah, straightforward, nothing too intense.
Very nice. What about you, Jared? Anything additional you want to add?
Temperature wise, my room's 78.8 right now because it's summer here. It's been hot out. but my thermostat for my room is 78 all year round for daytime. Then at nighttime it goes down to 73. But my room's still holding pretty steady temperature this time of year.
That's probably where mine sits at night too, because I turn all the lights off and stuff at night, and our thermostat stays at about 72 in the house. So
I don't measure humidity. Again, like I try to give like a light spray daily. If it looks like it's getting too wet in there, I'll hold off. Yeah, lots of hides.
Yeah.
I am trying an adult pair in like an old Freedom Breeder rack. Those I think it's like similar to a CB70, but they're deeper and they have the windows.
Yeah.
I'm liking it because it's got the like the metal grate top, so it can dry out.
Yeah.
Right.
They seem to be doing well in it. So
very nice. I have like a few different styles because I'm really playing around with what I really like, especially, you know, with the intention of growing the Gonyosoma or growing the jansenii thing, you know, much bigger than what it is now. So really trying to play around with like what setups work best, which enclosure size works best. And so I have my original pair into 6 long, 2 deep, 3 high, which is a new enclosure that I got just a few months back. And that really helps see what their preference are and like really what they're choosing. Because I have like the hot side is probably, again, it's really hot outside right now. So like the ambient in my room is like peaking 81, 82 midday. And like the hot side of that enclosure is like 90. And I will catch them basking, but then they're back over on that cool side, back to like 80 degrees. And at night I drop down like 74, 75 degree ambient, no heat at night. But I think I agree with the hides. Like the more hides you can give them, like in a 422, I don't think like 6 places to either hide inside or behind is unrealistic. That's why I really like those HDX totes, those commander totes.
I saw those new small ones you posted. Those are cool.
Dude, yeah. But the 2.5 gallon ones are a game changer, and they're only $250 at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Or they're 5 gallons. Sorry, I think. No. 2.5 gallons. But with the in the larger enclosures, I'll do like the 10 gallon one, and then I'll do like a medium or a large Reptile Basics or one of those ABS plastic hides. And I think it's the large one with the 10 gallon HGX tote. The hide literally clicks in perfect on top of that.
Really?
Box. Perfect. Thought I had one out here, but I don't have them together. So then I have a hide inside, I have a hide on top, and then I have a hide around back.
Yeah.
If it's in the corner of the cage. So that's 3 right there. Then, if you put one up top, like your little bird hides are excellent. I have my my cage guy working on some different designs for me right now that'll have like a separate like bracket that I can put like a U bracket, but like squared off, like a square with a top. onto the cage wall that'll be screwed in, but then have a similar bracket on the back of the box so I can hook it, on the cage and then unhook it to completely take the box out. So I don't have to be like fishing in there if they lay eggs or something like that. I can just pull the whole thing out and look with a nice little flip open lid. And I told him if he does it well, he'll probably have some more customers for that same thing. But yeah, I don't think you have to spend like a whole ton of money to like get these things done also. And like, if you're me, like things that are not reptile branded are the best things that you could possibly buy, because the second you put a picture of a red-tailed
milk snake
or a leopard gecko on it, it's 3 times the price. So like really use your head, like go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, look around at stuff that you already have. And
corrugated tubing is awesome.
Dude, it is excellent. And when they poop in it, if you find an easy way to remove them and whatnot, just soak them in a tub of water. Like, they don't sink super well, but I just have like I'll just fill a tub with water and bleach and just put a paver on top of those things, soak a bunch of them at one time.
I will say the cork round that I have, the larger one, is absolutely disgusting.
But they also
live in that thing.
Yeah. But that's also something that cleans relatively, it takes a couple days, but, soak it, get yourself a big, stiff
I'd be
bristle
taking a wire
brush
to it for sure.
Pressure wash it. Bring it to the car wash and pressure wash it.
All that.
But I don't know. See, I'm not even. I like that they have something like that, because even like their ABS hide that they have, like, it's pretty gross. And Phil and I have talked about on Snakes and Stogies a good bit. Like, the snakes do that for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, that familiarity, I think, is important. And so it's like, I don't want stuff to be
too sterile,
spotless clean. I
Right.
want them to I want it to be like, okay, this is my cork round, and I know this because it's covered in uranes.
Right.
It just it doesn't, it may not be pretty, but if that's what makes them content, then whatever. But
I mean, if you're a python guy, you're not cleaning all your cages perfectly during python breeding season. Like, you're not. You leave you leave urates, you leave sheds. I would say you take feces out for sure. Actual turds probably come out of the cage. But I think a lot of that scent in those important communication signalers signals are in those sheds and in those urates.
And I've also found when rehousing stuff, if I take a little bit of that substrate from the previous setup, even if it's paper towel, like I've done it with some chondros, like they seem to settle in a little faster because it's not completely unfamiliar at that point. And even with some of the tarantulas now, like if I rehouse, I take some of that web from their burrows and stuff and put it in there, and I think that definitely helps expedite the settling a little faster.
I mean, there is definitely something to the shed thing. So this youngest jansenii that I have, the one that's not quite big enough, she shed about 2 weeks ago, and I threw that in with the pair that produced. And for 2 days, I walked in that room, and they're not only moving the shed around, but like actively engaged with it while I'm in the room. Like,
are you still hammering them with food?
Dude, I'm giving it to them.
What's that schedule look like?
I am so curious. Like,
for both of you,
still courting? Because I don't know if I'm sure it's possible for them to double clutch, but I really think that they will court and actually breed year round. Like they're
I mean,
recreationally.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think I use the word, double and triple clutch, even if there is another copulation. Like my hognose.
Jared's saying as opposed to animals that will go a second clutch off of retained sperm.
I think even in these other articles and people talking about that, I think there are other copulations happening for sure. I don't think any of this stuff is retaining sperm for 2, 3, 4 clutches.
Yeah.
Agreed.
They're animals. They like to breed. Like you cannot like.
It's the main driver of life.
There is no doubt that there are chemical cues that go off in that animal's brain that they don't enjoy it on some way or another. It is how it is. Like,
what's your feeding schedule like when it comes like when you're hammering them with food? Like, what does that look like, and for how long are you doing that?
So like, I'm trying to be really like go off like more information than just hit them with food and see if they develop. Like I want to make sure I'm doing all the things. I want to make sure I'm spraying the enclosure. I want to make sure that I'm starting hitting them with food like right when that female sheds. Like, okay, she said she went and shed. The next feeding, I'm going to feed her as much as she will eat. And I have found that there is definitely a reasonable level where they just turn their noses up and they're no longer interested. And I've given that the female that produced recently, I've given her some small rats, and she'll just eat the small rat, and she's gone. I've left her another rat, and she didn't go for it at all. Actually, the male ate it because he turned it up on the first go around. He didn't want to eat, but I usually drop feed him anyways. That particular female will usually take off tongs, and the male will usually drop feed. If I'm feeding something like day-old chicks, like usually she'll take like 3 to 4 day-old chicks as of like how this year is going. I don't think she was big enough last year to eat that much. And the same goes for the other adult female that I have. She'll eat like 3 or 4 chicks at a time. I've kind of gotten a little bit away from like the much smaller meals. Like I really don't feed like medium mice or anything like that. It's usually like multiple day-old chicks. Like weaned or small rats. Or
they're big snakes. They're chunky snakes. I mean,
dude, and when that animal inflates, you like the first time you take that animal out and it goes full puff on you, and it's like, oh, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were. You know,
I mean, you could just tell even from your pictures, especially like if we're comparing it to something like rhinos. Like rhinos are a small, slender animal. Like jansenii are beefy. Like there's no other way to put it.
Yeah. They're beefy, and because they can puff like that, you don't get like there's no like even when they eat small rats, there's no like massive bulge that they're like dragging across like the cage or anything. Like it's just not like that. Like
so that's what I was gonna say. If I fed my like female Malaysian like a small rat and maybe like a mouse bite, but that's like a big bulge. Like, what does it look like when the jansenii eats a small rat? Like
it's really not that bad.
It's not like carpets. Like if you feed a carpet a big meal where it has like that very obvious. Like,
I have like a hard time like picturing like how big, because people are always, oh, how big are they? Like my Malaysian over here is like probably 5 feet, maybe 5.5 feet, but like a medium rat would put a good good lump in her. Like,
I mean, a medium will. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, a small rat.
Okay.
Small. Okay.
She'll eat 4 chicks in a sitting, but again, like you can tell she ate. I
mean, a small rat for a 5.5 foot snake sounds about like good. Like it sounds like a good meal.
My Indonesian, like again, like they don't look that much smaller, but like they're clearly a little small. Like I'm just like trying to like visualize like how big the jansenii like actually are, because again, like they all sound like they're about like 5 to 6 feet, but they are like all and quite like, different at the same time. Like
they'll definitely get bigger than that, but like the female, like we're talking, she is just into maturity. She is like this is the first year I tried her because this is the first year she's big enough.
Yeah.
So it's like she's nowhere near done growing. Like nowhere near. And even the male too, like even since I got him like this time last year, like you can tell he's not that old.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Just by the amount of growth that I've seen in the last year. Like if he was a much older animal, like there's just no way you would see that type of growth out of him. I think they were actually spread out a few days ago in the 6 foot cage, and I want to say they're like right around like 5.5 feet.
Yeah.
Right in that ballpark.
Yeah. And then like are the males more slender than the female?
I mean, that male is actually that silver and black male is larger, but then the male that I have going with the other female is the smaller one. But he's super freaking finicky about food. He goes on these feeding spurts, but he's like afraid to eat like a jumbo mouse or like a weaned rat. So he's definitely a little bit smaller, and I haven't had him for too long. I think I got him in maybe February or so. So I'm definitely still trying to work with him and figure out what his tick is. I have some chicks thawing out on the counter for him right now because I'm trying to get him to eat. It's been a minute. I think like 7 weeks.
Try chicken hearts.
Yeah, I'm gonna try all sorts of. I actually do have some chicken hearts because the Lake Chapalas love them.
Yeah, I've been like, I've like fed them to like majority of the stuff in here.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've had anything that refused them, except I take that back. I've had some rhinos that I offered them hearts and they were like, what the hell? Same with frog legs. Like I offered some of the rhinos frog legs or pieces of frog leg and they wanted nothing to do with it.
I have one of the I have that second female jansenii separated if you want me to go grab her real quick. Can we see it? Want to see her?
Go for it.
We want to see
Justin, your rhino's been a savage, by the way.
Dude, when those things, like, I got a couple of them, like, if I'm thawing stuff out in the room, dude, they are not the
I mean, all three of mine are savages, but yours was, I don't know if the second one I got was just as small or like, around the same age, but I felt like yours was the smallest out of all three that I've had. And, eating, day-old pinks right away off tongues, which is really cool. So,
yeah, I make sure, dude, that they got. I don't sell them unless I feel like they're ready and they've had enough meals that I'm confident that they'll actually take once they leave here.
Yeah, I think I actually bumped it up to like a medium pink now. It's starting to definitely grow.
I've got one from that clutch still that I need to start pushing a little more with some slightly bigger meals just to, get it going a little better.
Yeah.
I just got some rhino eggs.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that. Oh damn.
I'm excited about it now. We'll see how excited I am in fucking 2 months.
I finally see, like that jansenii, it's a beefy snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about as big as my female.
Like it's probably not as long as some of my Texas rats, but that's sure as hell thicker.
Yeah.
She's taking over my chair.
Yep, that'll happen.
She's
yeah, mine would have lit me up already multiple times.
She's a well, I'm off to get second.
They bite hard too, dude.
They do bite hard. Yeah.
Like when they do it, they ain't. It's not like an Amazon that's just like, get away from me.
Yeah, they like give you a good squeeze.
Gonyosomas are like, you're gonna remember me.
Yeah. Even the babies, like I'm like, what the hell?
Nice.
They do make it very obvious though when they are done, which I appreciate. Like they wear their emotions on their proverbial sleeve. Because that neck says everything. Like when mine are sort of cruising and if they're out of the cage, like I can tell they calm down. But as soon as I move, that neck puffs up again, and they start squaring up until I stop moving, and then they go back to kind of like looking around again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and sorry, it's completely off topic. The snakes I don't want to get bit by the most in my collection are the bird eaters, and they're still small.
I believe it, dude.
And they light me up every time and make me bleed.
So I thought the female was in her hide this a couple weeks ago. My Frontenax. And I reached my hand in there to grab a turd, and she came around the corner and just lit me up. Sharp, sharp teeth.
Yeah, they have. I've been bit by everything, obviously, in this room, but like they go, and especially because they're still on the smaller end, like they chew, and they're arboreal snakes. They're made to catch birds out of the freaking trees, so they're built like that.
Yeah, thick.
It's just my favorite thing ever. She'll probably shed in like the next, I don't know, 12 hours or so.
I really like the variability that you have in your jansenii collection, just phenotypically.
I feel like there's just a lot of variability, like in the true Gonyosoma period.
So
yeah,
so
I mean,
let's touch on that real quick. Let me put this girl away real quick.
No, the rhino babies are gonna be easy, man.
I hope so.
Just give them fish.
I just
don't fight it.
I think I burned myself this year.
I started a guppy colony, like a guppy group, with the intention of having them 4 babies this year, and I got no rhino eggs, and so now I have like 4 female guppies that just exploded, and so now I've got like 15 fry in there.
Well, that's good. Build it up for next year.
Yeah.
So plenty.
I enjoy watching them. Like I have some ghost shrimp in there that have started reproducing too, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
So when I first started looking at jansenii, this was had to have been like just before like COVID times. I think it would have been. Was that 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
maybe just starting into that time. And there was a company out of Texas that listed a completely white jansenii on the website. Was Reptimart. It's like a Temu Morph Market.
Yeah.
It is. And I had a picture of it. I sent it to a couple people. I didn't even own any at the time. I just thought the thing was obviously unique, but didn't know. I had seen some of the blacks, so I just thought it was like regular, variability. But reached out to the company recently, and I was like, "Can you please look through your archives, your computer, your sold animals, and see if you can come up with a picture of this?" And they haven't gotten back to me yet. But like, sure enough, it was a leucistic jansenii.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, dude, if I could draw, I'd draw you a picture because it's that clear in my head of what the thing looks like.
And legit pure white.
Pure white. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was $375. It was a male.
Wow.
Yeah, but I didn't even own any at the time. This was I was just figuring out what the genus even was. It'd be insane if they got back to me with that picture. I even looked through, because I remember sending it to I remember sending it to a couple different people, and I have looked all the way back in the chats and cannot find it.
Damn.
Cannot. But what else is out there?
Well, not only just that, so I don't know. You have those bone white ones. You have the goldish green one, kind of like what you have. They're just they're basic variability.
Mine are silver. Yeah.
Joe, can you throw this picture up?
Mine look like giant bears.
Yeah, send it to me.
If I could ever get my hands on or make something that looks like this pair of animals, I would be. These are my favorite, or this one is my probably the nicest pair of jansenii that I've ever seen.
See, I almost feel guilty because the black ones are cool, but they just don't do as much for me as the white on black.
This is
I agree. I think I'm
the ones with the hard
monotone.
sides that are black on the sides. They've got the ventrals that are just not ventrals, but the flanks that just look like they got painted all the way down.
This to me is as good as it gets. I'm
a little bit over monocolored snakes. I need multiple colors in there, even if it's a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think this pair currently lives in France.
Oh, are you gonna show the one with that crazy black head?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
It is nuts.
It really is so crazy.
It
Is
is
it showing?
Not yet.
Of course it's not. It's lagging.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Those are awesome.
Coach whip phase.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. They do they have that coach whip-ish look. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's kind of hard to see in that picture, but the one that's lower down, it's got a pretty black head, and then a small patch of tan, but then it's got this crazy black flecking down its neck. It's just such a unique animal. So freaking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice to have the sort of the amount of variation just in the levels of black.
And then the girl that produced for me is freaking green.
Mhm.
Like that, she's like totally out of left field. I mean, like straight up green, not like an off tan or like.
She looks like mustardy colored though, kind of like in pictures, anyways.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of yellow in there too, for sure.
Yeah,
reminds
me of like spicy Chinese mustard.
Yeah. Let me see if I have a good picture of her. Well, yeah, the picture of her on egg shows it pretty well. Do you want to throw that up, Joe?
Yeah, oh, yeah, you sent that to me. Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Both of my males are decently similar. I would say that the first male that sired this clutch that's in the incubator is my favorite look all around. Just that super, super crisp silver and jet black. That's my favorite look.
And then even like the Java animals, like I don't know if you like. I'm not like an expert with the iNaturalist thing, but I like occasionally look on there and like see what's going on. Like they have green ones there, they have the red ones there, they have the silver ones there.
Yep.
Some of the red ones turn like this cool mocha color. Like, I don't know, they're awesome.
And then you have to think there's certain areas there where those animals are really, those colors are really mixed in. Like, who the heck knows what they're getting? If this is just what we're seeing, like, as the usual, like, what are like the less common or the one-off animals look like?
Even like the green animals, like if you like look up close, they have like blues and like all these like grays and like all these like really like cool different colors.
Yeah.
Like my original gray male almost looks like purple sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one kind of has that
that one's awesome
to it.
I want you to take that red male to her.
That's one of those ones that I picked up at Daytona. So that jansenii on top is that smaller one that I'm talking about. She's definitely over 4 feet now, and I'm definitely more comfortable feeding them larger meals. So she's definitely putting on the size. Like the first time I fed her a day-old chick, again, she's much bigger than what's in those pictures now. But I was like, oh, you took that thing down and like absolutely was like no work for her at all. Like, okay, what does a large mouse look like? What does an XL mouse look like?
Right.
Beef them up.
Yeah. And like sometimes it's I feed them just like a chick at a time, 3 times a week. Like I'm definitely, if I'm not like that girl that I just had out, right? She's about to shed. So when she drops that shed, I'm going to throw the male in and leave them together for a couple days, let them do their thing. And then I'm hitting her with food. Like she'll happily eat a small rat, but I'm like not feeding her small rats like 8 weeks in a row. That's like not her normal caloric intake. Like that animal will do just fine on 2 or 3 day-old chicks a week. But if you want to like signal that there's higher food availability, like one extra chick a week to me is just not going to do it. Like those animals are going to chow town in the wild when there's food. And like I said, like they'll stop for sure. Like they're going to tongue flick that food item and not going to strike it.
And I'm sure where they're from, it's like loaded with like frogs and lizards that they're just going through nonstop.
Yeah, they're different. Like I have some stuff, like my Japanese rat snakes would eat till they die. They would kill themselves. Like I have some rhinos that would literally eat themselves to death. They would not stop. Anything you give them, like I swear you could put a small rat in front of these rhinos.
And it's a rat snake. It's a rat snake thing, dude.
They would give it their best go. But like even the king rat snakes, I find, like I have 4 adult king rat snakes and then 2 that are like sub-adult, and I find they turn it off also. Yeah. So I don't know if it's just like a species thing, like even to the point where if I like feed a king rat snake big and then like drop feed it, another big feeder, they leave it. Sometimes they take it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're at shy of 3 hours. Do we want to just jump to incubation?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you start us off with that, Jared? What was your original experience with like your first clutch, and then like after your first couple, then like up till this year?
So I've been using vermiculite from the start. The first time I definitely didn't have like enough moisture in the vermiculite, and they kind of like dried out. But luckily, like the container I was using would get humidity every time. Like I would open it, some like drops would hit in the back, and the 2 that were in the back seemed to not dry out, and they hatched. But I've had the best success with, I really like soak up the vermiculite with water until like I can make like a snowball with it, or I crunch it and no water comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll fill up a container and then I'll like throw a little bit of dry on top of that, mix it up so it's not too wet. Put it in a container with a couple holes in it.
It's nature's glitter.
I really need to find something that's messy, though. It makes such a pretty mess, man.
Vermiculite is really bad with the mess.
Dude, I hate it. I like refuse to use it because of how messy it is.
Yeah, back at the old pet store job, we used vermiculite, but personally, I've always used perlite.
I just use spag now.
I see a lot of people use spag.
Container.
Straight.
And then anywhere from 95 days to 120 days. So let me put this back. My last clutch. I was getting a little anxious. So I had 2 clutches. I cut one open in one and one open in the other. And both those animals didn't make it. They were like fully formed. They came out. They just like came out and died. But I let the rest go the rest of the way.
What day did you cut?
115, because that's like the longest I've gone. So I was like, oh, what's going on? And against my better judgment, I cut them, and the 2 I cut didn't make it. Then the other ones pipped and came out. So from here on out, I'm not cutting any eggs. That's what I say.
Yeah, dude.
Literally every time I do it, I regret it.
I know, and I did it with the cockside too, man, and just like, but it was day 73. It was like, mofo, you should have been out 13 plus days ago.
I don't know.
But then I cut it, and what happens a day and a half later? The second one pips on its own. I'm like, you asshole.
Yeah. Again, like you get in your head, the guy that usually hatches them say this is when it's supposed to hatch, and you don't trust the process. And every time you don't just trust the process, you get burned. I feel like, but the eggs are really weird. They're like very thick and hard.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Hard to compare to anything else. Like I've really been trying to like think of like what is this? Like what is
Boyga eggs are not too far off.
Really?
Yes.
This was the first snake egg I've ever hatched. I always did like boas and stuff, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. But like
they are ridiculously thick compared.
I was telling my buddy, I was like, they're like so hard to like cut open with scissors, and he's like, what are you talking about? Like snake eggs? Like they're hard to cut with scissors. I'm like, it's hard. Like they're hard to open. And
so they're not like chicken eggs that'll like, they're not bird eggs that'll like crack, but like
we're doing it.
It's just a much thicker.
No, don't mess with your eggs, please.
Cut them right now.
I beg you, don't mess with them.
And
For the sake of entertainment, it's not worth it.
It's not entertainment. It's education. Well, no, because it really is so. They're so weird. All right.
Compared to like North American colubrids, they are light years different.
Yeah, because even the cockeye eggs are very comparable to North American.
Really?
Egg. I mean, practically the same.
So
squeeze it. Pop it.
Yeah, they're like
very taut. Like
it looks very sturdy.
It is. It's like very sturdy, and like I'm trying to think of them.
I'll have to save a shell.
I wish I saved a shell. I'm like literally like, you see them pinch the ball python heads and you can't pinch them. They're like way too.
No, there's no give whatsoever.
I actually am wondering if that's why they do so poorly when you cut them open. Like I wonder if they use like the pressure of the fluid to get out.
I have an extensive theory on this whole thing. I feel like I've talked about it ad nauseum. I know Chaz and I have discussed it, and I know Jared and I have probably discussed it.
And you've discussed it with me too on the
show. It's like very thin and soft. Like,
I am convinced, and this is 100% anecdotal. I have nothing to back it up, but I am convinced that those eggs have more calcium to them on purpose because of how long they have to incubate. And I think that those eggs are dependent on the environment and pH around them for that period of time, so that it is deteriorated enough by the time it's time to hatch that they can get out of it like they should, and that there's some sort of there's an acidity thing to it that I think has to wear down that shell. Like it's designed so that over time it can sit there for the 150 days that it needs to. And by the time that time has come, that eggshell has sort of deteriorated enough to where it is then like a normal snake eggshell that we are used to.
Right.
And easier to get out of.
I still don't feel like at the end they're like that though. Like they're still so hard. Like
I mean, that's the only thing
I've been
like. I don't.
Every time you've talked about it, I've tried to construe in my head what I like. I don't know, something that could support that, and I am recalling from my old fish days, like fish that come from Asian rivers and streams, whatever you may have them, like tropical fish. You know, their water. It's not neutral, but it's probably slightly acidic. Not like South American discus acidic, but like slight acidity. Just under neutral.
Because I had to say, like the Boyga eggs were very similar, and those have sort of a not a lengthy incubation time, but I think they're meant to. They come out with the ability to sort of withstand the elements more so. And I'm wondering too if that's a result of those clutches get laid in sort of the most convenient and opportunistic places. Like it's not necessarily like North American colubrids, which I guess is kind of a bad comparison to begin with, but like they're not going to be in the most stable of environments all the time. You know, like a lot of colubrid eggs here, like you find them in rotten logs, things like that. I feel like with Gonyosoma and some of the boiga and stuff, like they're going to get laid in more so in tree hollows and things that just aren't nearly as stable of as an environment as you traditionally would think eggs would be laid. And so that's what made me think that maybe there's an aspect of the overcalcification sort of to compensate for that. And then maybe the reliance on the acidity of something, be it the substrate they're on, the rain, whatever, water. I don't know. I just it's something I've
Wouldn't it be funny
really
if it was like something weird, like they're like almost like killifish eggs? You're supposed to like put them underwater, like they're supposed to like be somewhere on like the side of a river that floods, and then they like get wet and hatch or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I do want to experiment. Go ahead.
This is officially the longest colubrid corruption episode.
Yeah.
Overtaking Chaz's original.
We gotta beat Cody Bartolini's 4 hours.
I was gonna say Chaz is still here, so he's still the reigning champ.
Yes.
I want to try, if/when I get more eggs from mine, I do want to sort of run a test and incubate some like on peat, and just some other different substrates just to see if that does actually have an effect on the structural integrity of those eggs, late term incubation.
I want a less messy sub. My
vermiculite's the worst, dude.
Vermiculite now. I'm pissed.
I told you it's the glitter of the natural world. It's terrible. It's like the herpes of arts and crafts. Like you scrub all you want, it's not coming off. It's terrible. Like I said, I refuse to use it just because of how messy it is. Like I cannot stand that stuff.
I don't like
I'll use straight sand.
The vermiculite. Or not the vermiculite, the other one, the little white one. Oh, the noise it makes hurts my nipples.
Makes them hard. But this whole thing, as far as incubation goes, like I said, it's completely hypothetical. Like I have zero basis on it. That's just the direction my brain started going with it, and the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced. But
did we mention temperatures, by the way?
No, I didn't. So I put it in the Grandmaster Hubbabator over here, 81.5 degrees. And I mean, that's probably why my hatching variates so much, because it's probably not even doing anything. They're probably just at room temperature. But I set it at 81.5 degrees and make sure they don't dry out. And
heat is heat, man.
95 to like 119, 120 days later, they'll hatch.
Listen, when you sell some of those babies, you deserve a nice glass front incubator.
I know. Well, let's see if I can sell all this shit this year and get myself an incubator.
Yeah.
I didn't even incubate this one egg I have right now. It's just sitting on the shelf.
I just have the bird eaters shelved, the rhino rat snakes, the mandarin rat snake eggs are just shelved, and so are the Chinese.
I didn't even turn on the incubator this year.
They're just chilling up there because
nice.
I can't fit anything else in that little hubbabator.
Beautiful.
Chaz, what are you incubating yours at?
78.5.
Is it an incubator? Is it shelved?
Yeah, they're bang on 78.5. They vary by 0.3 degrees. Yeah, hardly anything.
I'm waiting to find like a medical incubator on Facebook Marketplace or something like that.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I have a Govee temperature tracker in there. I can check them. Yeah, they're 77.2 right now.
All I'm going to say, for a third of the price of a commercial reptile incubator, you could DIY a broken wine fridge.
That's what I did, and it works great.
Which is what I did. And this thing is fantastic. And don't be, in my opinion, don't be cheap and get the herp stat on it. And this thing is dialed.
Yeah. Get a good fan. Yep. Get a fan. Run that fan at the same speed. Do not that's what you want. You don't want anything that you want everything to just settle in and be the same. If you're going to use an incubator, I mean, to me, that's what you're using it for.
Yeah.
To keep it bang on.
Yep.
I usually use it, but that requires me to produce friggin' snakes.
We're trying. We're doing it.
I was like, this is going to be the year that I'm going to have a bunch of rhinos. And it's not.
No.
It's not.
That being upset,
I got 3 corn snake eggs. I got a 9-egg clutch. 3 of them are good.
Obsess about things too much,
And I got that jansenii egg that I have 0 expectations from.
Also, I have 2 kids running around. I don't need a kid to throw something, and knock a $7,000 clutch onto the ground. So everything goes into the incubator, and no one touches it.
Yeah.
My daughter is so funny. She's just shy of 2, and she'll come in the room and sometimes she'll just look at the incubator and then look back at me, and she'll just put a couple fingers on it and then just wait for me to tell her to take her hand off of it.
Be even better if she goes and touches it and then is like,
no kidding. No kidding.
You can't stop me.
Any other incubation thoughts or anything? What clutch is this for you, Jared? How many have you produced total, do you think?
Like a million.
I don't know, because
32?
Terrible. No, not 32. I don't know. I'm a terrible record keeper. I don't know. I've been in the last 3 or 4 years, and I've been getting at least 2 or 3 every year.
I mean, especially with this year counting, you got to be in the range of 15 to 20.
This year I got 2 hatched, and I got 5 in here. 7.
You should really write it down. So year after year, you can really see okay, she laid within 2 weeks, in March, and then she laid, the first week of July, and see what, see what the correlation between that stuff is.
I definitely need to, because especially I always know when it's going to happen, but I'm always weeks off. I think there must be they develop follicles and have a shed, because I feel I always think I'm oh, this is the lay shed because I've already felt the follicles, and then it doesn't happen.
Yep.
But the follicles are still there.
Uh-huh.
And then I think I'm crazy and I'm seeing things, and then I go back onto my life, and then the next shed happens, and then they lay. Yeah. So there's a pattern I haven't narrowed down, but I'm seeing it, but I need to do better record keeping for sure.
Some of us have to live vicariously through you because we're incapable of producing.
Could you see yourself getting any oxys, Justin?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You think you would offload some corn snakes first, but for sure.
You think you would start with some babies or adults?
No, I'd probably start with younger animals, be it captive bred or wild caught. I'd go.
I know a guy.
I mean,
get some into your hands.
Even those little babies that come in, I mean, there's some available, right now that are small. They're, less than 2 feet, $125, $150 a piece.
I feel like Satu has them like frequently. I mean, not that frequently, but like, you know, at least like twice a year. I feel like I see them.
Yeah.
I
want to.
I really like working with that guy too. He's like always quick with the emails and is
really
reasonable.
Yeah,
I
need to do a decent downsize again as far as corns and stuff.
I need to downsize some stuff too.
I've just been so busy with work and businesses and stuff that it just hasn't, you know, got too much. I want to just narrow down the focus more to stuff that I'm really, really, really wanting to pursue, you know. So
I mean, to get those green bush produce, you know, and then get some oxys.
I think those percentum, I think what I had labeled as the female is actually the male and vice versa. Because I put it together the other day sort of on a whim, and that the female was chasing the male around an awful lot than the other way around. So I think they got flip-flopped somehow.
Hit them with the probe.
Mine gave me the
dude, hell no.
slugs I've ever seen this year. They were like just, it looked like a pile of mush. I was like, oh,
those things are terrible.
Second year.
Really?
They're horrible.
But who knows? Maybe this will be the year.
I chased the quote unquote male around the room the other night because as soon as you touch them with a hook or anything, they're like spring loaded, dude. They just take off. And then you grab them and they start doing the whole like little death roll thing, and then they come flying at you, mouth open, like they don't. It's just
oxys do the death roll too.
I'm not probing those things. Yeah, but the percentum will do it to the point to where they're like, I'm willing to break my entire spine to get away from you, and they're really cool snakes, but holy shit, are they unpleasant? Like, mother of God, they have real shit personalities.
My female's not that bad. Like once she's like out of the cage.
Both of mine are. I mean, the bigger one is a little more mellow, but still, like you touch her, starts doing laps. I guess that's the male now. I don't know, but they're just. I'm like thinking about having to deal with flighty and bitey ass babies. Man, is like fuck. I don't need that drama.
I think this is a good question, and me just I'm gonna give my answer quick, and you guys can give your opinion on it. I would assume the next best step would be a captive bred oxycephalum, because in Jared's experience and yours, Chaz's, like they're chill as captive bred animals. Because there aren't really captive bred jansenii available, I'm not sure if you're not ready to take the next step into wild caught stuff. I probably wouldn't with a jansenii personally. That's just me.
You know, like depends what you want. Like if you like want a jansenii and you're willing to pay whatever it's going to cost to get these captive bred ones, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like, but if like you're looking for something that's going to be a little more like obtainable, and you don't need to like, you know, have something that like you're going to play with like a corn snake, you know. I just like the babies are definitely more tractable than the wild caughts, but I still like wouldn't like say that they're gonna like handle like a rhino rat snake does.
No. They're just easier as it relates to their own species. I'd say one, you're dealing with something that has a much smaller mouth, right? And when you hold it mid-body, it has 8 inches in either direction rather than 3 feet, you know, like an adult oxy does.
And then
and just like overall dealing with the animal, I would say a baby oxy is probably your best bet. But if you do want jansenii, I would say go for the, you know, wait till the time is right, have your money ready, and go for the captive jansenii, or even a captive hashed one. Like Dan, he's been busy with the Super Show, so he hasn't posted them yet. but supposedly just got a group of captive hatched.
God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I just fed them.
Malaria?
Yeah,
Some captive.
yeah.
So this is a little Indo baby, and
nice.
Freaking box them up.
And then
I agree with Chaz on that. I think to sort of even comparing going from rhinos into the true Gonyosoma is sort of apples to oranges also, if you ask me. But I think if you're wanting to stay in that realm, I think an oxy is probably the next logical step. Not that necessarily as we're saying, jansenii are really any more difficult per se. It's just your access to those captive bred animals and having a more enjoyable time with those two species is oxys are probably the most logical step. So
yeah, and they're probably about half the price.
But if someone's willing to, again, if you want to hold out and get a captive bred jansenii, that's great. If you're willing to deal with the likely and potential headaches of a wild caught animal, then you know what you're signing up for, then
yeah,
go for it. But
Daniel Schwint oftentimes posts in the U.S. Gonyosoma Alliance Facebook page. I know he will be releasing some captive bred babies.
His page on Facebook is Daniel Snakes.
Yeah, Daniel's like a pretty like no BS guy. So
the Malaysian,
be intentional.
They're a little bigger.
I love that.
It's hard to say, or hard to see, but they hatch like twice the size of the Indo ones, and they have like a green, like a turquoise green chin instead of like that yellow chin.
Yeah, I would say get what you like. There's no sense. They are very similar. There's no sense getting one if you really want the other.
Yeah, well, that's like any the beginner snake thing. I guess they're kind of beginner snakes, but
all the beginner snakes are harder to actually manage to do it right than the snakes that I would choose to be beginner snakes.
Rhinos are the best pet snakes of all time.
Dude, I'm telling you, because if you can listen and you can read.
Things that are getting more difficult these days.
Yeah. Yep. But if you like it more and you're more excited about it, it's going to be easier for you than if it's this is the snake, kind of like the snake I wanted, but it's not the snake I wanted.
Yeah. Right.
I like it.
I think the last couple things you had on there was the market and the future of Gonyosoma.
Yeah. So let's talk. If anybody is in the market for red tails or black tails, what are they? Who are they going to? What are they looking to spend? Kind of what does that look like? What does that look like coming from you, Jared?
I've been selling mine between $350 and $450. Yeah, you can get the imported ones cheaper. Knock your socks off. I don't know. I don't know. I just this is not my job. This is my happy thing, and you certainly can get them cheaper. Sometimes you can get the captive hatch ones, but I've just sunk so much time and energy and money into these things. That's where I want to be with them. And again, there's people out there that I've sold snakes the past few years and they still have them and they're doing well. And you see a lot of sad stories with the people that buy the imported ones. And I don't want to discourage people from buying the imported animals either. If you want to do this and breed them and because me breeding these 12 snakes is not gonna supply everyone with enough snakes to establish these in the hobby. No, I don't think anyways, like
I don't know at the rates you're going, buddy.
There like has to be people like interested in them and excited in them, and like people putting in the work to keep them around. Because again, we have this resource from Freights who 20 years ago already did all this work and put these in people's hands, and then they disappeared. Right. My goal is 20 years from now, people will be like, oh yeah, I've got a captive board oxycephalum, I don't want this to just like disappear again, because the way things are going, who knows if Indonesia will even be trading with the United States. Like, who knows what will happen, and everything can change like that,
And then what we got is what we got.
Then I really got to put some effort in with the jansenii.
Yeah, I think that you just need to put some more effort in jansenii. I think that's the problem.
I do. I've been a lazy asshole.
You're not lazy. I know you got a lot of shit going on. You're a busy man, but that's what we need. We need to put the work in, get some more eggs.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like jansenii go, I mean, my kind of my goal is to get like, and it's just not one of those snakes that I have never seen like 10 available at one time. Like, you find 2, you find 3, and like 2 out of the 3 are males, like, telling you all the time. So I mean, my goal is to just keep buying, especially like the wild caught adults, until I either run out of room or they run out of supply. Because there is just so few in the country. Like, I really tried to think of a number of like adult pairs realistically in the country. And like, dude, like 20 pairs seemed like, could there really be 20 pairs? Like, could there really be, or is
You're
there
saying individual keepers who own at least a pair?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if I'm like putting names to people, like, I'm like, who the heck else owns these things?
Counting them on one hand.
Like,
sure.
Yeah, it's one hand. And like Daniel has probably, I wouldn't say he definitely has more clutches than anybody alive in the country, and probably has in the top 2 or 3 most produced clutches under his belt in the world, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Chaz on it again. That's sort of the point of why I started the USGA group on Facebook, because there's so few people really sort of committed to the genus and tribe. And like, yeah, there's a Gonyosoma group already. It's on Facebook. It's huge. It's got Europe. It's got Asia. There's American people in there too. But I created that group so that it's strictly for the U.S. And like, as much as it sucks because it gets a lot of requests for people to join that aren't in the U.S. that I decline on a regular basis, and it's because it's meant to be smaller. Like, I want anyone in the U.S. that wants to join can join without a doubt. Which, I mean, please put your location in there, because I have a lot of people that request to join that don't answer the question to join, and then I'm like, well, I mean, I can either do the research and dig for myself, or I can just be like, I'm too lazy, don't feel like doing that right now, decline. I wanted it to be a hub so that the people that are like have breeding groups that are trying to get something going people that are trying to get things off the ground like Jared has with the oxys, that are wanting to do a similar thing, that really appreciate the genus and tribe. Like, I want it to be a place where they can find other people that are trying to do the same thing. Like, it's meant for people of the same goal to be able to get together, because there's not a lot of us, as we were saying, there's not a ton, but also people that are sort of wanting to get into the group in general, that haven't kept them before, that want reliable information, that want reliable people to be able to get things from, or even to be
a lot of interest though. Like, there's not a lot of people doing
sure.
it. There's a lot of interest.
We do. We get a lot of people that ask to join, and it's like, I don't care if they want to breed or not, but it's like, if they're interested and they want a good hub and place to be able to find the information they need and be guided by the right people, that's what that group is there for. And it's like the big sort of international Gonyosoma group. It's great, but I just wanted something that was smaller, easier to sort of navigate, easier to get a hold of people, for those, both breeders and people that are just wanting to keep them alike. And it's not just true Gonyosoma. It's the whole tribe. Like I said, it's rhinos, it's Persimmon, it's, Frenata, for the 2 people in the country that have those, jansenii, oxys, all that stuff. Like, it's meant to be there for the people that are interested in these things and want to find the people that are producing them, or know the right people that can get imports that are, reliable and have a good reputation to them. And I think it's done a pretty good job of that so far. It's been a nice group. Overall, I'm not a fan of Facebook groups, especially like huge ones, because I feel like it's just a cesspool of egos and bullshit. And any group that I have created that I am like an admin of, like, I don't play any of that shit. Like, we're just there for the same thing. No drama, no bullshit. Like, we're all there for the same reason. It's just meant to be enjoyable and reliable, and
which the link to USGA is in the description, and as well as a couple of the other resources we talked about on here, which was the paper we showed at the beginning, and there was something else in there.
There's been some magazine articles.
If you look at Jared's shirt, Jared, can you show off that beautiful shirt?
Yeah.
What does the back look like?
The same thing, just bigger.
Man, that is bitchin'. Go on to the USGA Facebook group, and I believe the shirt is linked in the link to the top of the page.
It's on fullovisapparel.com. I just also released that new Gonyosoma shirt.
I was hoping it was going to be here.
I know. I didn't get it. I didn't print it in time. But I speak for myself and the other fine gentlemen here with me that, like, we want people to be successful with Gonyosoma as a whole. And so if you're in that group, like, we want people to be successful. We want people to have a good experience with those snakes. Like, we want people to have the best chance of success as possible, because the rising tide lifts all ships.
Right. And we're definitely happy to help and happy to guide and teach you with things like these podcasts. But there's also going to be like a lot of, article links and like different things like that you're gonna have to read them. And like other
we got Jared in the freaking crow's nest of that ship, though, just sniping oxy eggs like a freaking madman.
I bet if he looks in those cages right now, he'll have another clutch just waiting.
Probably
for
like 3 clutches waiting for him.
I have this one. I've been thinking is gonna give me eggs.
Mike, if you order the Rhino shirt on the website, I can just print it on a lime shirt.
I don't know.
It's that simple.
No, I think
I can also do it in the Bear and I Blue.
Really overwhelmed with baby snakes in about 2 months.
Well, there's at least 2 people here that are willing to help you there.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm gonna have to do the Colubrid Fest too, and I'm gonna have to drive up there.
Yes.
My wife's on board.
Yeah,
I actually am getting a raise in a week or 2 at work, so I think I'm gonna just say fuck it and buy a table and the tickets and go for it.
Yeah,
dude. In all seriousness, if you didn't even want to buy your own table, you could probably have a spot with me and Kevin if you wanted to just like set up with us. But like, I'm just throwing that out there to you. So
I don't even know how much it is. I feel like I just want to like
$150.
Yeah,
damn, dude, that's nothing.
Yeah,
Tona's like $300 a table.
yeah,
$150 with electricity included.
Woo, that's an even bigger deal.
I like to support this shit so it's still around, you know.
right.
But
Daytona, they'd be charging you for the freaking air conditioning and oxygen you're breathing if they could.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's like $300 for the table and then like $75 for the electricity, badges, all kinds of goofy stuff.
When they can't even get everybody through the door before 3 p.m.
Is it that crazy?
Dude, so when I bought
you
those
get them VIP tickets.
Daytona's
when I say the line at 3 in the afternoon 2 years ago was from one door, and it is have you ever been?
No.
Massive building. You could see the doors are down the middle of the building, and when you were coming in, you could see the end of the line on the other side of the building. I mean, dude, we're talking
August in Florida, dude.
We're talking 500 yards of people.
No, the New England Reptile Expo is the biggest expo I've ever done, and it's at like a double tree.
You go to Daytona, but you spend the $100 for the VIP ticket.
You find your friend that's vending there and be like, hey,
that too.
Slide me that vendor pass.
I'm gonna give you that $15 for that extra badge.
No kidding. Tell them in advance to get you an extra one.
And then you just arbitrarily carry around a tub and act like you're doing something, and you're good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with such and such.
Yeah.
See my badge?
Yeah.
It says it right here. Their system for that really kind of sucks. It's literally just a piece of paper that has NRB 2025 or 26, whatever year it is, and then it's just Sharpied your name on there.
Yeah.
Like you just find out what color paper they're using. It really wouldn't be that difficult. I can get a lanyard from last year and just wear it, and like no one would know.
Yeah.
It would not be hard. It's not Fort Knox by any means.
You got to bully Justin into getting a couple pairs of jansenii and put him in that special projects room.
Dude, when those royal tree snakes had come in, Ben Siegel had messaged Justin directly and was like, "This is something you need."
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I think only that one male ever ended up coming in. That supposed female never even showed, and they sold that snake because I asked. So somebody bought that snake for like $14,500.
That's fucking
$14,000.
It's like a fragile.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. And you wouldn't even be able, like, there's nobody that I know that would even remotely spend that much money. They wouldn't. Maybe if I had like a royally crazy season, no pun intended, like,
even then, it's hard to justify.
Yeah. And they were like really real, like I knew all the information on a captive born and bred pair, 6,000 would be like a crazy number.
Yeah. I'd rather take my kids to Disney.
Like, I don't know. Can you even do that for $6,000 anymore? Like, I feel like you're getting closer to the $14,500 price for Disney now.
Yeah. You might be better off with a royal tree snake. What about go ahead, Joe.
No, go for it.
Where do we think this thing is going in the future? Like where do we really want it to see when we look back and like when I look back like in herpetoculture, I'm looking back to like the 90s at minimum. So when we look back 20 years from now, like where do we want to say this thing came from, and like where is it going? Is it that there's enough captive red-tailed green rats that anybody that's interested can jump on Morph Market and buy one. We want the same thing for jansenii, and do we think it can actually get there?
I mean, I definitely think that you could get them there. I mean, or if not, how it is like even like more like the bamboo rat snakes. You know what I mean? You might not be able to get them at all times a year, but if you want them and you can wait, you can get them. You know,
or like rhino rat levels.
Rhino rat level. You know what I mean? Like they should be available. I think it'll get there if like more people get interested and get their hands on it, especially like, I don't know. I feel like the captive animals are solid. So once, you know, a handful of people get it, like that's where I think you can get away with having the single pair.
Right.
And like sticking with it and getting it done. Right.
Right.
So I feel like, I almost feel like the Gonyosoma are going to turn into what, like, or not in the same capacity, but just level with me for a second. How like chondros are. Like chondros, like you can still get like wild caught animals very easily. But there's a ton of people producing captive at this point, both locality and designer stuff. I'd like to hope we get to the point where you still can get wild caught gonyos, but there's also, you know, enough captive stock to
sustain
the you know, demand for it each year at the very least.
Right. I do feel like there's like potential for the designer stuff too, because like again, like all these snakes are so variable.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the silver phase ones, like again, like the male I have in here, there's not like a bit of green on him. He is like almost like purple or blue in some light, and then you know I got a male up here that's like fire engine red, like super red. The one I sent you is pretty red too. That like reddish purple female you have, I think, you know, you put those two together, you can get some cool stuff.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity. Like, and there's also like some of the silvers have like the freckling with the greens and yellows, and I don't know. There's just like a ton of potential, I think.
Absolutely. I agree with Joe. I think it'll, you know, ideally they'd go the route of green trees where they are going to have sort of a loyal following and regular captive breeding and still have the ability to have imported blood sort of come in to keep things diverse and moving along.
And I don't think we're going to like totally lose them, like the possibility of losing like the jansenii, because it does seem like there is, you know, a pretty big span of areas that have them, you know, where it seems like the jansenii are in a pretty small area.
Yeah, 80% deforested on Sulawesi. 80%.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Seems a bit excessive.
The I guess the highland areas, which I think you can find like highland zones on North and South Sulawesi, but the terrain and the soil is no good for growing. I think their primary crop is palm oil harvesting. Soil is no good for agriculture, so they've left that stuff alone.
Good.
Yeah.
So they find some other resource they can pillage it for.
Yeah. If you ever if you get a chance to dig into some of the animals on Sulawesi, they have some amazing stuff. Some like crazy palm civets, which is like a mix between like an otter, a dog, and like a ferret. Just some like really cool areas. Crazy biodiversity around the oceans there. Crazy amounts of endemic birds, and I believe butterflies also. So like really a whole lot of stuff that is only found there. And once it's gone, it's gone. And that's why my focus is on jansenii, and kind of the goal is to, get as much wild caught stuff as I can as it comes in, and try to nail down my processes and whatnot, and simultaneously stockpile some captive offspring from some other people, as well as my own F1 stock, and really get those super solid bloodlines flowing. I think Buddy Daniel is working on I think he said he had juvenile F2 stuff. So within a couple years, 2-3 years, maybe he'll be headed towards that F3, which is gonna be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's absolutely crushing it.
And he's doing it quietly too, It's like you don't know what's like going on in some basement somewhere in Kentucky or who knows where,
Kansas, I believe he is in.
Yeah. No, but I get like, who knows? Maybe there's other people working with some of this stuff, and eventually they'll
come out of the woodworks,
Who knows?
I hope so, man.
It's like it seems like it's like hard to believe that like all that like stuff that Freitas did is just gone.
Yeah. Like, I mean, as far as jansenii go, besides me, it's Justin, Daniel, think Patrick Holmes. I don't know if he just has the blacks or if he has wild types also, but he has a couple.
I think he just has a pair of the blacks.
Yeah.
That's why I need to
which, by the way, Patrick, for those who are still listening at this point, Patrick was supposed to be here, and if he was here, this would have been a 5-hour podcast instead of almost 4.
Yeah, he's out of town. But I have posted in like all the rat snake groups, the gonio groups, all the large and unusual colubrid groups, all the different things, saying, is there anybody out there like crying out for help? Is there anybody but me breeding jansenii? And there's no responses.
Yep. Yeah. Got to make it happen.
Yeah.
I need to downsize so I can get more than just the 2.
Yeah. Yeah. You would really do solid with the 2.2, or even going with, if you could like fit some 6-foot cages, do like a 1.2 or something.
It can be done.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be done with oxys at least. I got 2 1.2 groups this year, and they've all given me eggs.
I mean, that's what once this third girl is big enough, she's going into 1.2 for sure.
And then what's the feed and response on your, like my Malaysian pair? One of them is in one of the lock boxes when I'm feeding, and one's out, or they will kill each other for sure.
Really?
The Indos are like pretty like gentle with food.
The female that laid eggs has her nice little spot, and she's usually spends the afternoon in this elevated cork tube, and the male is usually on the other side of the enclosure most of the time. And he drop feeds a lot, so I'll feed her whatever she's gonna eat, and then I'll drop feed on his side. And by the time I'm done feeding and come back in the room like 30 minutes later, he's already eaten. I haven't really had any issues with drop feeding and one like lady in the tramping the feeder. Hasn't happened yet. I wouldn't dare do such a thing with a bunch of like I wouldn't dare do that with like my blue beauties or like virtually anything else that I keep. I would not just drop feed a cohab pair and leave.
Yeah, I usually gotta watch mine. Rhinos especially, like the rhinos that I got cohab.
You will end up with one rhino and one very full rhino.
Guys, I hate to be this guy, but my battery's cooking here.
Yeah, I was about to kind of run that quick outro here. So
yeah,
I think that's the place to end it, guys. The three of you, thank you all so much for joining us. Ches, Justin, Jared. You can find the links to their Instagrams in the description, as well as the Herpetoculture Network YouTube channel. Obviously, that's Justin. Like I mentioned, all resources that we kind of discussed are down in the description as well. Guys, any last words for the audience?
If you're interested in getting into either one of these species, now is the time to do it. If you're interested in all, pull the trigger.
USGA.
Yeah, get in USGA. You know, all of us are willing to answer your questions. If there's anything you're unsure of, or, you know, as far as like initial setups, what exactly you should do, you know, if this is something you seriously want to do, let's make it happen.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Needs to be more of us.
Yep.
All right. With that said, if you got through all 3 hours and 40 minutes of this podcast, one, thank you for listening that long. You're a real G. Secondly, make sure you hit that like button on today's podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe on the road to 1,200 subscribers here on YouTube. Listen to us on the audio podcasting platforms. Give us a 5-star review on there, a follow, share with your friends, all that good stuff. Link to, like I said, the guest social media. My social media is down in the description below. First link in the description also goes to the Meteoric Serpents Patreon. It's a way for you to support the show and get a little more behind the scenes from me personally. But that just about does it for tonight, guys. This was episode number 70 of the Colubrid Corruption podcast. This is the Gonyosoma Roundtable. I really hope you all enjoyed and got something out of this, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.